KDA? Should we show them how we do it every day? Let's get it. Kali that girl, Kali go girl, Kali gon' stop, Kali gon' skirt, Kali got a job, Kali go to work. 뜨거워 언제나 don't get burned. 넘쳐 흘러물 든 a buffet, 죽여주잖아 like a buffet. 누가 감히 on my hotbed, 그 문 열지 마 that's a rock day. 당겨봐 your mark cause I'm greater than. 필요 없는 시험들 다 뿐이미. But all of my numbers are tacky babe. 부루마법 메사스 monopoly. 눈종이 돈이 나 money 필요 없대 너네들이 만든 돈들 go get it, go get it, go get it. 더 미션 눈을 못 떼 못해 그래 너도 get it cause I got it different.
All I'll ever know is life upon the throne. 시작하면 끝을 보는 거야. You want more? No, I got it so deep though. You look like you could use some more. No, I got it, never running low. Yeah, I got more than enough, and it up and away. You know I got it like bum bum, blow your mind. Never giving less, and it's how it'll stay. You know I got it like all day, all the time. When I go, it's for gold. Get it cool, but I'm cold. I don't fit in a mold. I'm a rebel. I don't do what you say. Making moves, I don't wait while I smile in your face. I got different DNA. What's higher than the top? That's me. Come take a look before falling on my feet. 조용히 몸을 숙여봐. So take a look, 나를 기억해, queen. All I'll ever know is life upon the throne. 시작하면 끝을 This is how I do it every day. Wow, wow. 这一路上的奇迹都记住了你的每一个瞬间，无比的耀眼。I know you want some more， 准备好就一起走 ，Give it need more。Now I got it, so here you go. You look like you could use some more. Now I got it, never running low. Yeah, I got more than enough, set it up and away. You know I got it like bum bum, blow your mind. Never giving less, and it's always the same. You know I got it like all day, all the time.
I ain't looking for no wifey, but you're trying to entice me. No way, I see PD. Cause your body's the only thing gonna please me. Why don't you come over? Let me call you a cab to get closer, baby. It's 2 a.m. and I'm up at 8, but I don't care, I'm not calling late. I wanna be up all night, you're keeping me up all night. I wanna be up all I know you don't do drama, but I can't help it, I want you right now. Giving me one more time, giving me one more time, giving me one more. Go slow and don't rush, I do it right, yeah, you know I make you. I can't describe the way I'm feeling you. Eh, you're amazing, but I didn't want no baby. Eh, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Eh, you're amazing, but I didn't want no baby. Eh.
I ain't gonna be a wifey, but you're trying to entice me, no way. Don't think that I'm easy, but I know that you got what I need to please me. So if I come over, give you the chance to get closer, baby. It's 2 a.m. and it's getting late, so make it quick 'cause I just can't wait.
I wanna be up all night, you're keeping me up all night. I wanna be up all
Oh boy, I don't do drama,
but I can't help it,
I want you right now.
Giving me one more time, giving me one more time, giving me one more. Go slow and don't rush, I do it right, yeah, you know I make you. I can't describe the way I'm feeling you. Eh, you're amazing, but I didn't want no baby. Eh, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Eh, you're amazing, but I didn't want no baby. Eh. I can't describe the way I'm feeling you. Eh, you're amazing, but I didn't want no baby. Eh,
I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do. Hey, you're amazing, but I didn't want no baby.
I can't describe the way I'm feeling you.
Hey,
You're amazing,
but I didn't want no baby.
eh, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do.
Hey,
You're amazing,
but I didn't want no
baby. Eh.
It could all just be so simple, baby. If you wanted to be mine, you don't gotta be shy. Relax your mind, relax your mind. Don't take your time, don't take your time. It's alright, it's alright. Stay a while, stay a while. 'Cause I can be everything you wanna me to be. I could be everything you need to me to be. So I don't wanna wait, I know you feel it. So why don't you feel on me? Why don't you feel on me? I know you're feeling me. So why don't you feel on me? I'ma throw it back, then I'ma let you catch it. I'ma whip it up, then I'ma let. Cause I know you're feeling me. So why don't you feel on me? Yeah. You got 5 senses, so take your time with all of them. Cause I need you to look at it before you go to your taste and feel it on me. You know there's a cookie here, but before you go taste it, I need you to breathe. Cause I wanna be everything you need, and I need to be everything you wanna be. So I don't wanna wait, I know you're feeling me. So why don't you feel on me? Why don't you feel on me? I know you're feeling me. So why don't you feel on me? I'ma throw it back, then I'ma let you catch it. I'ma whip it up, then I'ma let. Cause I know you're feeling me. So why don't you feel on me? Yeah. So why don't you feel on me? Why don't you feel on me? I know you're feeling me. So why don't you feel on me? I'ma throw it back, then I'ma let you catch it. I'ma whip it up, then I'ma let. Cause I know you're feeling me. So why don't you feel on me? Yeah.
Dominate the game like we supposed to. Dodging all lanes like we supposed to. I just run the play like we supposed to. Gotta run it all like we supposed to.
Hey, hold up, hey, it's light work. Just looking at the wrist of the ice work. All this shit on me and it bust down. Shock him out the clutch and it bust down. She don't love me, she just want me for the team, I know. At the draw, I'm the pick, I'm that one lotto. Got that rocket and that power auto. You want air, braid to dry, gotta stay on auto. Mad it, auto wins at it. Need a new patty, it's a time cost. Then the bag ain't free like it's MK. I got that new kick gang, got that sensei since day. Don't believe us, we just gotta show 'em. Got a whole game prepped up, got 'em like it's loaded. Oh, they got it backwards like it's Yoda. On track, got speed, it's a locomotive, hey.
Dominate the game like we supposed to. Dodging all lanes like we supposed to. I just run the play like we supposed to. Gotta win it all like we supposed to. Dominate the game like we supposed to. Dodging all lanes like we supposed to. I just run the play like we supposed to. Gotta win it all like we supposed to.
Dominate the game like we supposed to. I'm just staying in my lane and I'm supposed to. Be 100 ain't a thing, I ain't checking for no lames. Only gang with the dudes that I'm close to. I don't ride a wave, I just float through. Drawing up the plays like a coach do. Come against the team, better pray like the Pope do. Cause we'll turn your little beef into tofu. We tryna rise to the top. Real recognize you ain't squad, you the op. Drip on wall paint, feeling like the greats. Appetite jumping and you looking like a plate. Team on 3, no fail when we break. Lombardi is the only L's that we take. Tap the pylon, then we all celebrate. Then it's back to the huddle, time to cook another play.
Dominate the game like we supposed to. Dodging all lanes like we supposed to. I just run the play like we supposed to. Gotta win it all like we supposed to. Dominate the game like we supposed to. Dodging all lanes like we supposed to. I just run the play like we supposed to. Gotta win it all like we supposed to. Dominate the game like we supposed to. Dodging all lanes like we supposed to. I just run the play like we supposed to. Gotta win it all like we supposed to. Hit the gym, flex, run me my check. We on your neck, shooters on deck. All we do, win. All we do, win. All we do, win. All we do, win. Hit the gym, flex, run me my check. We on your neck, shooters on deck. All we do, win. All we do, win. All we do, win. All we do, win.
I need a dub for shoulder. Bag and trophy, I need to go. You cannot match the glow. I'm covered, I'm shining from head to toe. Y'all ain't notice. Exact like POTUS. And I stay open. Hold up, flex getting coldest, flex getting coldest. Crept down the court, walk with the fade. Like, I don't even start for the win, I don't play. Got a coat for the rain, y'all boys brace for the storm. We tsunami informed, and it's best that you stay informed. We run plays without no script, hey, that's light work. Hey, that's light. We make bands just off our shot, but what's your net worth? I cut ties for all my team with all this drip, but no canteen. Now y'all boys can, but no sardines. We off this wave for all 19. I don't, yeah, got no words, don't say too much. Clock on 5 and it step like clutch. Team G6 and the league stay up. Ayy, gotta hit that flex like a rep. We cut, we
hit the gym, flex. Run me my check. We on your neck. Shooters on deck. All we do, win. All we do, win. All we do, win. All we do, win. Hit the gym, flex. Run me my check. We on your neck. Shooters on deck. All we do, win. All we do, win. All we do, win. All we do, win. I gotta win it. Yeah, I just sprint to the finish. I'm pop on spinach. I cook like I'm frying up chicken, and ain't no debate on the hood, man. And catch it. I ain't even fishing. Yeah, they tryna eat off a layup, but beating it. Yell out to come out and get it. Ooh, yeah. Oh, hot. First out the skillet. Yeah, busy. I got a whole lot on my plate. Busy. I got a whole lot on my plate. You busy looking on IG. It won't get you nothing but fake love and a whole lot of hate. Look at my life, get you motivated. Came from the bottom below the payment. Shout out to God, man. We finally made it. I know some people that probably hate it. Yeah, I ain't worried about your opinion. I'ma live my life. In the studio in Georgia, finna kill a mic. Quarterbacking money plays, you should take a hike. First down, first down, first down, first down. Running through you about a mile, stiff on you on the ground. Knocking heads off now, and I know you hear that sound. And it don't stop, and it don't stop. And you getting mobbed, sideline pop. Hit the gym, flex, run me my check. We on your neck, shooters on deck. All we do, win. All we do, win. All we do, win. All we do, win. Hit the gym, flex. Run me my check. We on your neck. Shooters on deck.
那我玩伊德瑞尔吧。我感觉这个英雄我比较喜欢吧，我感觉技能也好，或者说是各方面都蛮帅的。
我意识当中会玩的话，会玩拉克斯，因为拉克斯的话他比较苗条，然后很容易走位，然后躲别人的技能，然后自己的技能也比较容易好中。
满三吧，能秀，能眼下饭。
张武还是站起来了，变身一个金刚也被踢到了。这边
我唐舞啊，
玩亚索吧，比较快乐。
那我当然玩亚索了。
不想玩英雄，我不想变成绝活哥，福耶哥吧，因为可以玩别的，玩他当然都可以玩别的英雄。
我能不玩这游戏吗？我应该是会玩福耶哥，因为这个英雄可以变成别的英雄。
如果我这一生只玩一个英雄的话，那我应该不会打英雄联盟了，因为我平时就是可能会就是比较烦那种一个英雄玩的特别好的人，对。
저는 이즈리얼이나 카이사? 이즈리얼을 할 것 같아요.
이렐리아가 자기만 본인이 잘하면 다 이길 수 있어서 좋은 것 같아요.
风女吧，
盲僧
应该还是会选露露吧，理由是露露太可爱了。
我会带你们进世界赛。
애쉬를 하고 싶습니다.
제이스
야오지마, 因为毕竟是对我一些很有意义的英雄。
그냥 만약에 대회를 안 한다고 치면 그 롤만 한다고 치면 약간 아칼리 할 것 같아요. 아칼리가 좀 많이 재밌고 보여줄 게 많아가지고.
就玩猫咪吧，这上了 W 一直躺着。
毒枭吧，
无缘吧，
赫菲留瑟，因为有5把武器。
玩艾克，因为能时光倒流。
玩杰斯吧，
会玩杰吧，
玩卡牌。
豹女吧，特别好玩，就无论我打什么阵容都能打，什么英雄都能打，拿出来就感觉很自信。
豹女好玩，我喜欢玩。
我可能会玩牛头吧，就像现在很流行的计划，勇敢牛牛，不怕困难。对，
玩卡米尔吧。
卡米尔，
那会玩卡米尔吧。我觉得卡米尔这个英雄比较均衡。
就玩火人吧，剑圣，因为第一次玩一些联盟就是在玩剑圣的。
瑞文吧，
我会玩扎克吧，
我感觉经常挺好玩的，但就是特别容易被打爆。
我个人的话就是稍微带一点小巫医的英雄，我都会觉得特别有趣。然后最讨厌的英雄的话是那个小丑，对，我们在欧服排位的时候，我每一盘都会办。
我感觉机器人吧，机器人还挺好玩的。然后最烦的英雄，我现在很烦小丑这个英雄啊。
最烦的应该是小丑吧，感觉玩这种英雄的人都比较奇怪。
最有趣的话就是佐伊吧，因为他那个运气嘛，他那个泡泡气球就是运气。然后就是最烦的话应该是小丑吧，就很恶心，这英雄就会抓你，然后又找不到他。
很烦小丑。
小丑吧。
最烦的是妖姬吧，然后最有趣，感觉每个英雄都挺好玩的。
感觉翠神嘛比较有趣。
이제 솔로 랭크에서 이제 카이사를 되게 좋아해서 카이사를 가장 좀 즐겨 하고 아니 르블랑을 같이 즐겨하는 것 같아요. 저 르블랑을 가장 좀 자신 있어 해서 그다음에 짜증나는 거는 드레이븐. 요새 이제 제키러브 선수가 드레이븐을 너무 잘해서 이제 많이 나오더라고요. 그래서 가장 좀 짜증나는 챔피언 같습니다.
有趣的话，我觉得最近巨魔挺有趣的，我比较烦。 那个杰比较烦一点，就对面那种刺客比较烦，我觉得。
亚索也感觉亚索很有趣。
제일 재밌는 챔프는 제드 갔던 거 했을 때 제일 재밌고 제일 짜증난 챔프는 약간 리신 짜증나는 것 같아요.
最有趣的英雄也是盲僧，这也是我玩下来的动力。然后最烦的话，EZ 吧。
最有趣的话，我觉得是伊泽瑞尔吧。就这英雄，我玩 ADC 的时候就很喜欢他。最烦的话，我觉得可能是锤石吧，因为这英雄就对线真的压制力特别强。
제일 짜증나는 건 지금 그 외엔 좀 짜증나고요.
最有趣的英雄是我觉得破败之王吧，因为我觉得破败之王没有英雄可以 counter。 就要看你自己打得怎么样，看对面有没有你不会玩的英雄。比如说我玩破败之王，对面有什么佐伊这种英雄，我杀完都不敢变，我不敢杀完都不敢，变身变佐伊感觉可能要上当了，好像要输了。还有一个是最烦的英雄，其实也是破败之王，对面有破败之王的话，感觉就很烦。
재밌는 챔프는 이신이고 제일 싫은 챔프는 이건 좀 메타에 따라 바뀌어가지고 뭔가 확답을 하긴 어려운 것 같습니다.
我认为对我来说最烦的英雄就是那种就是没有办法让我操作那种，就是没有发挥空间的那种英雄，就是带着硬控制的。然后最让我开心的英雄的话，可能是就基本上没有控制的英雄嘛，就是可以自己就有无限的操作空间，也蛮好玩的。
일단 가장 좋아하는 챔피언은 약간 좀 피지컬 할 수 있는 아칼리나 르블랑 이런 챔피언이 좋고 가장 싫어하는 챔피언은 약간 문도나 노틸러스 이런 약간 뚜벅뚜벅한 챔피언 별로 안 좋아해.
最喜欢的英雄是就俄斐流是吧？因为我自己也玩得多，然后比较喜欢的那一个英雄。然后最烦的是梦魇吧，因为非我必死，很烦。
You have been slain.
应该是亚索吧，然后因为确实玩得比较开心，然后但是就玩得也很烦，因为一直死。
我觉得这个版本的话，最有趣的是蒙多吧，最烦的话就是上单卢锡安、韦恩这种。
我认为最有趣的英雄就是卢锡安。讨厌的英雄的话，其实是佐伊吧，因为这个佐伊这个英雄，我们之前队伍的人都特别讨厌他，因为觉得大家应该把设计师把这个英雄删了，哪有什么一个技能打到一个晕到别人之后，直接一个泡泡就把他秒了，别人还不能帮挡的一起死，那怎么玩嘛？
最近几年出的新英雄都比较有趣啊。
比较烦辅助巴德吧。
最有趣和最烦的英雄应该是酒桶，因为上限很高，下限很低，也很搞笑吧。
就这种卡牌会追吧
，EZ 还蛮好玩的。然后以前最烦莫甘娜，现在应该没有了。
最有趣的感觉是亚索吧，然后最烦的英雄应该也是亚索，因为很烦队友选的。
去的应该是蒙多吧，然后最烦的就 也不太清楚，感觉都挺烦的吧。
感觉挖掘机挺好玩的。
最有趣的是火人，最烦的是 POG 维鲁斯。
最有趣的英雄卡缪，最无趣的英雄卡缪。
烦的英雄是 Timo， 最有趣的英雄亚索。
因为亚索一来一去很烦人，然后沥青就可以一直操作，一直秀对面，就很厉害。
最烦的英雄，我比较烦葛温，然后最有趣的英雄，我挺喜欢玩福耶哥的，我自己。
最有趣的英雄应该是扎克吧，就我刚刚说的，然后最烦的英雄应该是小丑，就这英雄就特别烦。
但是左为被嘲讽了一下，直接遭到抓到，嘎啦还是被切死了，已经倒地了。那这样的话感觉要溃败了，卡拉已经把这个抄起来，有人带走了卡里。
波起身以后，卢锡安遭到了相当，但这个火龙魂有没有机会收分跳下来？收分把火龙魂抢走了！我的天哪，LNG要崩溃了！
这个人真的太坏了，他在做什么？这波团战，
我天！他在，
而且这一波抢到了以后，把他踢过来要打
，3个人，嘎啦就没整，嘎啦直接被秒了，把他爆了一下，但是没有人跟输出了。这一波他在也太猛了吧！
布拉文现在头在 Brief 已经进场了，只剩下冷帅们都再拉一个针 ，QR 同时到，冷帅倒下以后，只剩下一个在战场中央的一个勋被处理掉，这波 IG 被打出团灭，感觉甚至有机会一波，
直接给大了，
来日子开始了，做彪彪，
有嘎啦，1000块
，49分钟的大战，
我呀，最后的这个开车送彪彪，
闪现，再去粘风风，奈特将风风站于防塔之前，视频托斯再接一个强弩，撸到金克斯的脸上，奈特换掉一手鳄鱼，金克斯闪现状态，奈特再杀一个，再一个近身，一个克空就能打到3杀的奈特，抛火的救世主。季后开启定乾坤，英雄登场破万象。
Welcome, everyone, to day number 2 of the LPL Summer Playoffs. We got to keep kicking it off here as it is Mazel, it is Goldberg, and we are ready and raring to go.
We're back. I can't wait to get started. OMG versus WE. Two different playstyles that's going to be clashing later. We'll be diving way more into that, but we've got a brilliant day for you guys today.
We definitely do. It's going to be a fun best of 5 to continue this run in the LPL playoffs. But first of all, we got to talk about the kickoff day. We got to talk about day number 1 as we bring up the bracket here to show a little bit of that growth and the progress we've made so far. Had a banger of a series last night, 3-2 in favor of LNG.
Yeah, and it was yours truly who was the only one of the casters that predicted it right. Marcel and I, 3-2 to LNG. It started out quite surprisingly with a 2-0 series for LNG, and then afterwards Suning equalizing 2-0 themselves, and then it started looking like Suning was going to take that reverse sweep as LNG, quite frankly, were falling apart. But then in game 3, finally clicked for them again, and they made that comeback for the series to beat out Suning and deny them further playoffs entrance. So LNG moving up further.
And it's just crazy, that growth in that series that we saw, the fact that we did go to the brink and LNG were able to pull it back and like, okay, no, we're not letting this happen. The reverse sweep is not happening. And I just want to let people know you're fine. You're going to be comfortable in the hands of big brain analysts like us where we get our predictions right. We got to say, maybe the predictions will be right tonight, but I'm hoping for another 5-game series as we're going to be getting into OMG and Team WE later on. But I gotta say one last time, like looking at the progress from LNG from that end of that split, and now they have to go up against top esports in the second round. It's a little bit of a tall task there.
I mean, I think you take the W against Suning. That's pretty good. Going up against Top Esport. I was even a LNG fan before we even got to this point, and I think that up against Top Esport, what they have displayed, especially towards the later half of the split, that is just an entire different monster than what Suning was. They did struggle in the beginning, Suning. They finally got in playoff shape, or at least managed to make it to playoff. But I mean, the top teams of the LPL it's just another thing, really.
Yeah, I know Munchbull is going to be a little sad at the Suning dropout early on in the playoffs, but it's okay. We can rely on other great teams here in the LPL playoffs. But talking about some great teams, we're going to do a little bit of tiptoe into the water here of tonight's series, as we will have OMG versus Team WE, and being able to have this kind of differentiation in the styles of play between the two teams is where we find the most interest, Goldberg.
Yeah, I completely agree, and without going too deep into it, I think WE is for sure a team that's going to be proactive in early game. All their stats are through the roof in the early game. They're one of the best early game teams we have. The problem with WE usually is that they drop the ball once you reach that mid to late game. They struggle with some of the fundamentals towards decision making there. Setups are not always there, and they enter team fights they sometimes shouldn't be entering. Where on the other side with OMG, they're the exact opposite. Their early game suck. They really struggle to find any leverage in the early game, but once you get to that mid to late game, the individual mechanic and how they use themselves, or how they play as a cohesive unit rather, they're doing so incredibly well, and they quite often have to come back from a goal deficit, but they do that so brilliantly through their team fighting style.
They do indeed, and we've got a little taste tester of what we're going to see tonight, but first we have something even more important. We're doling out some awards. We're going to send it over to Wendy with an awards ceremony for Rookie of the Split.
After several layers of selection, now the Rookies of the Season has recognized by majority. In just over 1 year since he joined to the professional league, he has showcased a very high level of performance, both as Silas and the amazing Akali. His assassins have inherited the quintessence of the OMG mid laners, and in terms of stats and data, he has reached the top of the mid laners in terms of the kill participation rate and damage amount. At only 17 years old, this brilliant newcomer has made the Dark Planet OMG shine again. And next, let's welcome OMG Crime, the 2021 LPL Rookie of the Split. I'm happy to see you here. Would you say hi to all the audience? So hello everyone, I'm the OMG Millionaire Crime, and now let's have a very short interview. We all know that OMG is really famous for the excellent mid lane players. So maybe did you feel any pressure once you first joined into this team? So at the beginning I didn't feel much pressure, but at the late of the split I feel some pressure. And now you have reached this award of 2021 LPL Rookie of the Split. So how do you feel? I really appreciate all the teammates and also the help and the guide from the coaching staffs. And throughout this whole journey, you have really showcased a very high level of performance, and also you also have the very humble attitude. Because of this, you have attracted so many fans. And there are so many fans all supporting you. So do you have any message to all the fans? I really appreciate all the supports from all the fans. A short thanks, but we can feel your sincere heart. And now, do you have any expectations toward the upcoming journey, and what's your goals? I would like to be better in the future and to go further together with my team. And thank you, Krem. And next, let's invite Mr. Sun Zheng, Head of League Ops and Development at TJ Sports, to present the award on the stage. I'm really happy to be here with all the audience to witness this moment. And now we just face to the front of the stage and we can take a photo picture for these memorable moments. Thank you a lot. And congratulations again on Krem. And now you have showcased a very gorgeous performance. And I believe this is a season of perseverance and hard work. You have really put into the full effort into the split. So congratulations again on winning the 2021 LPL Rookie of the Split. Congratulations again. And now the amazing matchup is coming up next.
Welcome back, everyone, and thank you so much, Wendy, for that translation. What an interview with the Rookie of the Split of the LPL. A high honor for the man coming in here, and very deservedly so.
Definitely so, even talking about how he didn't really feel too much pressure coming in, and then all of a sudden people start having expectations of him now standing with Rookie of the Split award. I hope he's not going to be crumbling to too much of that pressure, as he is playing his first playoffs match as well in the LPL. This is an entire different beast.
I'm hoping maybe in some world they could put that piece of hardware for the extra confidence boost on the table or something. It's a nice piece of hardware. It's a nice little trophy to have in your trophy case, so hopefully he'll be able to set that one up for himself. Maybe not at the stadium itself, but gotta give one last shout out to Cream, our Rookie of the Split here in the LPL. What an impressive performance from him, and he's got to keep that up going into tonight, as we're going to be breaking down a little bit more of these teams. And first to talk about has got to be one of the longest standing organizations in the LPL. It's Team WE, and the boys are back in town.
They most definitely are once again, and we have 3 players I think are absolutely pivotal for WE as a team. Brief, Beishang, and Shanks are all names we need to pay attention to today. A lot of WE, we already established it earlier today, it is about the early game, and it is about the top side of the map for them. They have incredible solo laners that get a lot of attention, but most of all, Brief just gets the most attention out of all of them, and you can clearly see that through his stats.
And at least for a moment, you just got to take a moment to just breathe, because this dude is so oppressive in the top lane. First in kills for top laners in the LPL, which is, if you don't know, pretty stacked in the top lane position. And the fact that also you see the iteration of Team W where they do play around this individual style, the 64% counter pick rate for that top lane, the first in K+A at 15, kill participation at 15, all these kinds of stats just lean into the play style for Team WE.
It definitely does, and they are using a lot of their early game to put resources into Brief, who is just such an incredible laner, one of the best top laners we have in LPL, and you can see it through the arsenal of champions they do it with as well. From the jungle, from Beishang, it's quite often early skirmishes. We talk Olaf, we talk Xin Zhao, some of these champions that take control over the early game incredibly well. Then in the mid lane for Shanks, one of his most played champions has been Silas. He's got a stunning 75% win rate on this champion. But the problem is we are entering a new patch now, where Silas has seen some bit of nerfs to his W. And then another thing that also took a hit for WE is the Viego. This is no longer a triple flex. We usually only see it in the jungle now, judging from other regions that's played on this patch. But then, once again, we have to take it back to the top side. Brief, one of his most played champions as well, it is the Jace. It is one of these champions where you're able to take control over the lane and later the game. That is the style of WE.
Yeah, and what do you do with this arsenal of weaponry? Well, you gotta secure the bag. And how does Team WE do that? It is by that early objective control. It's making sure to keep a grasp on the map.
Yeah, once again, WE, one of our best early games team. The first Herald with a 65% taking rate, which is the first in the entire league. Herald in general is the third of the entire league. First turret 70%, which is the third. And then obviously the gold difference at 15. One of the best early game teams we have in the LPL is WE. But once again, the problem for this team is that they quite often drop the ball when you get to that mid to late game. They struggle with some of the macro decisions, and they struggle with closing out the games quite often.
And it's a little bit of that lack of dimension. I was talking to Kelsey Moser earlier on today about this matchup, and it's something interesting to kind of look into, that this is a very defined play style from Team WE, and we're going to see some of those definitions as we roll through some B-roll.
Exactly, and once again, a lot of the plays that happens in the early game for WE, it does involve the top side of the map. Either if it's through TPs with Brief joining a fight, or if it's the jungle proximity. We already talked a bit about that through the stats. Brief gets a lot of attention from Beishang, and you usually see that as well. If there's any TP advantage, in some teams, you would use those TP advantages towards the bottom lane, but for WE, a lot of these extra TPs, or the ability to join a fight from any other champion, champion will be spent up towards the top side of the map because Brief just does an incredible job at putting his team in a favorable position.
Yeah, they do. But something else that stands out for me from this team, from Team WE, is like you have that mainstay focus of Breathe in the top lane, but there's a silent killer on the squad, and it's Shanks in the mid lane. I feel like is a little bit of an underrated mid laner into the LPL.
I completely agree, especially because Breathe, you know, sometimes he gets a lot of attention. Either he'll go for a solo kill, but Shanks as well, because we have so many good mid laners in the league. Knight, Rookie, just to name a few, right? It's so hard to come through as well. And I think Shanks is definitely under the radar. I think going up against the Rookie of the split against Cream is also going to be a huge matchup for Shanks also, because he can still prove himself. This new young blood coming in, well, he ain't got nothing on me because I can still dominate the mid lane.
I love it. And gotta give a shout out to Bunchables earlier saying, you know, these two Silas abusers, what do they do? And Silas is not as much in the meta. Well, we're going to find out tonight because it's an elimination match for one of these teams. And I think it's so interesting to think about that going forward because we got to talk about OMG. We got to talk about the opposite side of the coin from Team WE. And, you know, it's been a little while. I got to say, long have we waited, but OMG are finally activated.
They finally are, and I love the players that it's come through as well, because it's been a while since we've seen OMG in playoffs. Last time we saw OMG in playoffs was in 2017. That is 4 years ago, and obviously as a storied viewer or a veteran viewer, you know OMG from back in the days with Season 3 World Championship and all this stuff. This is no longer that team. This team is a completely new iteration of what used to be in the past. Forget about them. These are the guys who's here to make history for themselves. Rookie of the split in the mid lane, Cream. Aki in the jungle, who also has a very skirmish-heavy style with the Sin Saos and the Olafs and the Volibears. And then Cold, who I think also go under a lot of people's radar. He does such an incredible job at finding flanks before a teamfight starts and putting OMG in a favorable position, because this is the teamfight team.
And Cole also being one of the most veteran members on the squad of OMG, was part of this team the last time they were in the playoffs. So you get a little bit of that veterancy to go with all this new blood, all this craziness that's going on with the rest of the squad, and the big focus that we see in that mid lane. And speaking of the mid lane, it's the cream of the crop, the rookie of the split here, and his stats are impressive, Goldberg.
It most definitely is, and despite OMG having bad early games, like, he does incredibly well for himself. 5th in kills and assists at 15, 4th in the kill participation, which kind of indicates a lot of the action happening around the map is often around Creep as well, and then 2nd in solo kills. That is amazing. Once again, we just talked about how much of a stacked role the mid lane is in the LPL, and then you have a new guy coming into this split, taking 2nd in solo kills. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, some nice paddings there for the rookie of the split, but I gotta say, as we're looking at OMG as a whole, we did set out that this team is a bit opposite of how Team WE will play. They do like to go to the later parts of the game, and time will definitely tell how that works out for them in this series.
I completely agree, because if WE is one of the best early game teams, OMG is one of the worst early game teams we have. And you can just take a look at the stats, like the goal difference, it's 14th on the league. They're always, or quite often, in a negative rather. The first turret rarely happens for OMG as well, the first heralds as well. But the thing they do really well is that Draken percentage. It's the 5th in the league. And then you can argue, is that the objective setup? Is that because they're good at taking the early game drakes? No, it's not really because of that. It does have to do with setup, but most importantly, it has to do with they fight around the drakes.
Yeah.
The drakes are their battleground where they bait in their opponents to take a favorable fight for them. Even in a gold deficit, because they're so skillful with their hands, they're able to make a difference around this objective. It's not always big brain diff. Quite often with OMG, it's hand diffs, because their players are so mechanically factored, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, it's actually incredible. And I love those kinds of moments when you can just say, you know, it's a hands diff. Let's take it to them here. But something else that really stands out for OMG is the fact they just like to roll over their opponent there, and they like to take these full death ball compositions and steamroll that into those objective fights, into those setups in the late game.
Yeah, because as you said yourself, both teams here are quite one-dimensional, and while we can say WE has the dimension of an early game team, then OMG for sure has the dimension of a late game team that likes to take the fights there. And that doesn't matter what they pick. No matter the composition you have, they will always play it like a death ball. They will always play a dive team fighting composition. You can have a comp that's set up for doing side lanes with a Gwen or Silas or a Kali earlier in the past as well. It doesn't matter. They will play those champions in a team fight instead. They don't want to play sides. They want to get around you near an objective or near the jungle camps that are spawning, and then they want to catch you in a fight and just challenge you to actually try and outplay them. And that is how OMG plays their game. They love to go for a death ball kind of playstyle.
And we're going to see some iterations of that as we get into the B-roll from some games beforehand and seeing kind of the growth that we've seen from OMG. But it's, again, setting up around these objectives, around this dragon fight.
Yeah, exactly. Like every time there's a Drake on the map, especially the third later onto the later in the game, you can count on OMG being there quite often. I think we've seen them so many times around this objective, so many times. It is different people who get to show off as well. Sometimes it's called on an initiator, like the Leona, like the Nautilus, or sometimes it's new up in the top side who'll be finding a flank or be finding that engage. They're very flexible with how they pilot these team fights, but one thing again is for sure, they love taking that team fight no matter what.
Yeah, it's all about just fighting. Why not just take it to them? Something else that you were mentioning earlier when we were talking about this series beforehand is like that influence that Cold can have on the rest of the map. He is this huge flanker for OMG. He is this huge setup for them, and you can see that along the lines of these team fights.
I definitely agree, and once again, I think he goes under the radar a lot. I think once we hit that early game, obviously it's not going to be too much OMG favored. I'm counting on WE to be that early game team, but if anyone were to make a difference, I think it's going to come through Cold from the side of OMG when he is out influencing the map or when he is finding any flanks to try and be a bit cheeky with the setups and try and cheat with the bit of tempo you can get if you get bot lane priority.
It's always trying to find those little incremental advantages. In series like this, it always means the most. It is a best of 5. It's going to be a long night, so you better buckle up. But I gotta say, there's one last thing I really want to highlight, and it's when these two teams faced off the last time in the regular split. It was a 3-game series. It was a bit back and forth, but OMG shone out in it.
Yeah, so to kind of reiterate what happened last time these two teams fared off against each other, it was quite close, honestly speaking. WE took the first game quite confidently. It was a classic fashion where they get ahead in the early game and they close out the game because it was so hard for OMG to find every leverage back into the game. Then in the second game, WE got ahead in the early game as well, but they fell to the teamfight composition you see from OMG, and I think the second comp you see from OMG kind of classifies what they do really well. The Diana Yasuo together with Rel and Reset being able to set it up. And then in the last game, WE had a lead with 7k gold from the early game where they were trying to close out the game. They dropped the ball and OMG find team fights to get back into the game. These two teams are polar opposites with how they play, but it leaves you excited from early game to late game because you can count on action always being there for at least one team.
Yeah, it's all the push and pull that can happen because of the differences in styles between these two, and I find that super interesting as we're getting in this one because you do see the comeback from a huge deficit, and that for me shows a lot of resilience for these teams, and I feel like that's such a strong factor when you're going into these kinds of best of 5s because those comeback potentials got to be there. But I do believe we're ready to see our players on the stage get a little bit of comfortability with the faces, and I really want to see, you know, who is going to be performing on the day, who we see step up from both these teams. Is it going to be the tried and true fashion that we've seen for both of them, where, you know, it is the breathe show on one side, it's the cream show on the other one, or if we see some differences today, Goldberg?
You know what, I'm really looking forward to the fact that this is a best of 5, and the thing is that we've already described both teams as one-dimensional, so I want to see if one of these teams in this best of 5 will get pushed onto unknown territory, will be pushed to a style that you're not used to, or if it's just going to be like, oh, my style didn't work, but I don't know anything else, I'm just going to continue with it either way. Because once again, both teams have been quite one-dimensional, and I think that's something that they are going to have to improve as they go along further into the playoffs, because you may excel at one thing, but we have a lot of good teams in the LPL which down the line excels at multiple things that are way more flexible, like FPX or RNG, for example, or even Top Esport as of late. So, I mean, there is just a lot of of pressure on both teams here.
There is, and especially with the history of both these teams, as we're going to be getting to see those beautiful smiling faces, I hope at least, of these players. But it is the story of Team WE having made it to their 4th playoffs in a row, but never really having been made a deep run in those playoffs. And OMG, for the first time in so long, to be able to make a presence here in the playoffs, like, there is so much pressure on the shoulders of these players, and we see Team WE taking their place on the stage.
I mean, it's also just a nostalgic crash between these two teams, because if you watch back in the day, you know, this was big names. Like, as of late, this hasn't really been two organizations where they showed up a lot internationally. They've kind of made, like, at least WE has made it to playoffs, not really gotten more out of it. So I think both teams right now, you're here. You're hungry for finally proving yourself. You're hungry for making that run towards the World's playoffs, or just the playoffs alongside to the Worlds, because this is an incredible stacked playoffs that we're having in the LPL.
It is, and like it all is what's in front of you, right? Like, you can think about future positions, you can think about the run that you want to make, but it all starts with this first best of 5 for both these teams. And especially with everything that we've kind of laid out together today, and with how we're kind of approaching this matchup for both these squads, it is a huge focus on the top side of the map for both of them, right? You still got to find stability up there. Even though we're saying maybe there's some differencing styles, there is still that big focus in the meta right now of that top side of the map.
I completely agree, and I think that's going to be interesting as well, because it's the fact that you either decide to challenge Brief on the top side, put New on something where he can actually counterpick and try and play around the top side, or it's the fact that you want to say, okay, we know WE, they play top side, so we'll try and play mid to bot instead, so we'll abuse the fact that they don't give these teams these players too much attention down towards the bottom side instead. I think the strategy which both teams are going to be coming out with, at least WE, should be quite clear, but OMG, I think the ball is on them to make a move. Either you handshake that top side of the map aggression, or you want to create aggression elsewhere on the map to make them bleed on a point where they're weak.
I'm just going to throw a huge shout out to our graphics team there. That was absolutely incredible. I love the lead-ins to these games in the playoffs, but especially for me, when you're talking about playoffs, right? You're talking about the individual growth, but as well as the team growth. And if you're able to come out in the best of 5 to start off your playoffs and show those different styles that we've been alluding to, not just sticking to those tried and true factors, that does throw things for a loop as you get further on, right? The teams that are looking at you, trying to prep around, they have to start thinking of this different style. So as we kind of said earlier, I would like to see if we get any of that today, or if both teams just know how they want to tackle each side and they want to go ahead and take it to them that way, because it's going to be a very hotly contested battle either way you look at it.
It definitely is, and I mean, I can't wait to get into pick and ban, because it's also going to show the fact what these two teams are prioritizing. I think early jungle aggression against definitely something that we've talked about, and I think since our Olaf champions, both these junglers, they share, so they're quite identical, at least in terms of what they like to play.
They are, and we already are in neck deep into draft. OMG on the blue side, Team WE on that red side, sticking with their tried colors. I like it. The Olaf, Kalista, Ziggs banned away by OMG. That Ziggs ban is a must. And Team WE banned away the Akali, the Renekton, and the Set.
It definitely is. And now, since our has
So
been left
many
open,
choices.
I feel like that is the go-to here. There's still a lot of strong other champions like the Thresh, like the Varus, that is still very much in style. So I think you can also later down the line look for the Lulu. We saw it yesterday in the LNG series as well, but Viego, still a strong skirmisher. For the most part, goes towards the jungle, has been logged in. And then the blind pick LeBlanc for Shanks against Cream here. That is confident.
That is confidence as well. I love it here, and it's so interesting to me to see the LeBlanc blind picks that I've been seeing rise in Providence here recently. Just some hands diff, as you were alluding to earlier, but I like the Xin Zhao pick for OMG. It is the most played by far for Aki, and to have that come through, the comfort for game number 1 is huge. And on top of that, we get the Samira lock-in for OMG.
That's just blind pick Samira, not something we've seen a lot recently. Quite often, Varus just has that most priority as of the AD carries right now, especially with the early aggression of Kalista being banned away. And then we ask ourselves the question as well, would Silas get locked in by these mid laners after the nerfs had come through? And you know what? They don't care. They're still going for this champion. It's still comfort, and especially for Cream.
Yeah, you know, you got to go with comfort, especially in moments of pressure and moments of, you know, uncertainty going into a best of 5. But it's so interesting to me how we've seen these picks play out. We have a lot of blind picks that can be countered and find things into them, but a lot of comfort as well coming out here. And the Jace lock-in as the 3rd pick for Team WE.
Yeah, we talk about comfort, but Jace definitely one of Bree's most favorite champion to come out with this one. And we talk about topside aggression. You got the Viego in the jungle with your early skirmishing. You got the Jace to take care of, or at least take control of the topside instead. And because this blind picker coming through, you can clearly see the second ban phase. They're trying to take away some of the annoying champions that Jace gets to play against.
You gotta get that matchup under wraps there, but I do also like OMG's focus. There is an obvious need for a pot lane from Team WE, so you gotta take away some of those powerful pieces. I like the Braum ban, does go well with a lot of the setup that you want to have for Team WE, and the Wukong ban, as you were kind of alluding to, is just that extra secure feeling, at least for Bree in top lane on the Jace. But now that we're going into this second phase and seeing some of these things align, it's very interesting to see OMG still having some individual pieces they want to grab. They still have an individual lane to grab, and they still have to grab their engaged support that we want Cold to have.
Yeah, but you can clearly see they're trying to take away some of the disengaged champions as well, and some of the champions that does well into early aggression and tanky stats, like the Trundle as well coming into it. I like the Rel ban as well from WE. Rel and Samira is just such a potent combo because of the fact that Samira can just dash in, and then Rel will have the attract and repel to just stun them immediately and set up the Samira passive. So very smart ban to come out from that one, and we've seen a lot of Vayne as of late. Light had 2 games on this champion yesterday in the LNG versus Suning series, and it just seems like the Chinese AD carry, the LPL, they keep going with this favorite champion.
I was just about to make a point about Elk having like 3 times, 4 times almost the amount of times played on the Ezreal than anybody else on his roster, but then he's gonna go ahead and whip out the Vayne. He has not played it in the regular split of the summer split of LPL, so this is a huge adaptation from Team WE. It is responded to in kind with a lot of lockdown, a lot of setup from Cold, exactly what we wanted with that Leona.
Yeah, but I'm starting to get a bit worried for WE, because right now you don't have any immediate form of engage. You don't have anything to challenge them once you get to that later stage of the game where team fighting will become a thing that we once again have established is home turn for OMG. Then you take a look at OMG's composition. Now you have the Ornn, you have the Leona, you have the Sylas that can steal away any engage ultimate if you were to pick the last champion here for WE with an engage, and Samira to just pull that infernal trigger at the right moment in the later fights. OMG's comp, very easy to execute towards the late game. You want to be team fighting.
You gotta find the team fights where you can get them, and it's we gotta see how those styles clash here going into it, as Alistar is the final lock-in for Team WE. So Goldberg, we have our team comp set up. We have a lot of what we were kind of asking for, but it's very key to talk about some of these blind matchups, some of these picks that we got to see where we have some very volatile matchups across the board.
Yeah, I'm looking at a Sylas, and then I'm looking at your last pick, and then I'm looking at the fact you decided to pick Alistar into that to give Sylas the unbreakable will. If Cream gets ahead and he gets to take over this game, he's not only just going to be incredibly fed on the Sylas, he's also going to be having that Alistar ultimate as a backup. I think OMG's composition is very clear cut, and I think on the side of WE, that early laning phase that we talk about, they have to find leads. They have to be able to dictate the pace of this game, because if they go even when we hit that mid to late game with the side of OMG and objective starts being a factor, they just won't stand a chance unless Breathe have a lot of poke to deal with on the Jace, unless you get the Vayne to a point where she can just kite away all this team fighting. But I'm looking at all the tools from OMG, and I'm thinking it's quite hard.
Yeah, it really is. It's a tall task to say the least, but it is still possible, and you're able to get those early advantages from Team WE where you do thrive. And on the other side, you're talking about, you know, if Cream can get an early advantage, or at least find an advantage on the Sylas, it would be a little bit out of the norm to see that big early game focus from them, but they do have a draft that I feel like is able to accomplish that. Maybe that does lead into that narrative of that we were talking about, where we see an adaptation of style, a growth from OMG to start off this 5-game series. As we do, we get to see the matchups one last time. We get the Ornn back in the game here. I absolutely love it against Bree, trying to neutralize that lane, Goldberg.
Honestly, I think it's such a smart adaptation as well. You get on, you can just go double armor in your runes as well. Then you're up against the top side of the map with Viego and Jace that is full armor as well. And you just get easy itemization. The blind can get to be a problem once she gets priority in the mid lane because it is ranged into melee. But outside of that, I think OMG's comp, they know exactly what they want.
And as we hit the rift for the first time of this best of 5, you saw the beautiful skybox. It means we're ready to do battle. OMG taking on Team WE. Game number 1 right now.
Obviously, this is a best of 5. We will have loads of games coming your way. But I think specifically for the first game where we have to pay attention to is definitely the junglers, what they will have to influence. Beishang and Aki now starting on opposite sides. So on the Xin Sao will be pathing down towards the spot side of the map. And you can clearly tell why. You have Cold and Able to play for. Your Ornn is the weak sider. You don't want to play for the Ornn. On the other side of the map then, once again, WE with Beishang pathing up towards the top side of the map. Very top side focused. So both teams right now in style, and we were talking about what this OMG wants to do. They want to attack the bot side here.
And talk about OMG, you saw that graphic up there, just a reminder that this is the first time we have seen OMG in the playoffs in just a little while, I would say, but trying to make their name known here yet again. And I do want to keep a little side eye on those jungle pathing, see if we see any skipped camps or things along those lines. I find that super crucial when you're looking at where the early skirmishing can come down.
I completely agree. And I also want to take a look at this little 2v2 down in the bot lane because of the CC coming through from Elk, he's been forced to go cleanse. And when you go cleanse, you always lose value in the 2v2. You don't have the advantage of a heal. You get the advantage of denying CC, but in later extended fights, the heal is going to be more pivotal. And that is why you see OMG just be aggressive. That is why you see the bot lane of OMG try to take control, because in a straight up 2v2, they just win. And at the same time, they have their jungler pathing down towards them, so they get to play aggressive down towards this bot side, while WE spot lane, they just want to wait. They want to scale a little bit with the Vayne.
Yeah, gosh, this early game is already giving us so much to think about in terms of where we're going to see that early pathing from both these junglers. I do like to see and note that, you know, we're not going to get any of the shenanigans of skip camps or anything of those lines. I think we're just going to go for a full clear from both sides, but that 2v2 in the bot lane is going to be something to keep our eyes on as well, as we do see Aki down that way. But I still want to see if we get that early proactivity around these scuttles, if we see this mid lane turn into a bit of a volatile state, Goldberg.
I don't think we will. You can clearly just see what's happening right now. Top side of the map, Brief will have first move due to him shoving in the wave. The same can be said for Shanks in the mid lane, who's also pushed Cream under his tower. And because of that, Beishang will just go for the top side scuttle, which is incredibly easy to take. And on the other half of the map, OMG spot lane, they have the priority, they have the first move, and therefore super easy for Aki to clean up the jungle as well. So as you can see right now, Beishang just getting some vision, Cole coming up towards the mid lane, trying to stop Shanks from pushing in, but it seems like we're just going to get a clear-cut reset for both teams right here, where Cream is going to TP back to the lane, and the junglers are just going to be resetting out towards the map again.
Look at Cole being such a nice guy here. He's just able to take up the wave for his team, and for Cream being able to help that wave not crash all the way. And also something else to note here is that Cold was able to get on a roam timer. I know it didn't accomplish too much except for getting Cream into at least a semi-stable lane state, but it's important to see that coming down early on, as talk about coming down early on, New trading very heavily in the top lane against Breathe.
Yep, he is, and towards the other side of the map, Beishang is towards the bot side right now. He is spotted out by the early vision that came through from Cold as well, so the jungle tracking for both teams right now in the early game is really good, because right now Aki is also spotted on a ward towards the Grump here, and that may slow this early game down a little bit, which should be favorable for OMG, because of the fact that you don't need to create any skirmishes where you know the enemy jungler is. Right now on the top side, New knows he can be a bit more greedy, try and go up and get a bit more of these waves. He know Beishang is on the other side of the map, and for the bot lane right now from WE, they know they can be a bit more aggressive. They know they can push out the lane without having to fear for them getting a gank right now, and that's what you can see. They push out the lane, now they are getting the reset through from themselves. So both teams right now in the early game, they're actually reading each other really well. They're playing nicely around the information they're getting.
Yeah, the information is key in these, but I do, want to say, like, Team WE, their strengths are in that early game. We see a decent amount of skirmish and early game presence on their squad, but as you let this kind of go through and get later on, it gets a little bit scarier. New actually giving a lot of damage to Breathe on the TP back, as Breeze's probably just going to get a reset. But I do want to see how this kind of works out for Team WE here.
I completely agree, and I think right now for WE, the strongest point of the map right now is the mid lane. You can just see Shanks now actually pushed Cream back into the lane again, forced him to recall. He's going to be losing some CS, he's going to be losing some XP, while Shanks, he's just going to take the recall for himself now, which what I think is a little slow push. He started to push in towards himself there. So right now for the mid lane, it's still very much in favor for WE. But remember, OMG don't have to be proactive in the early game. They have a lot of great team fighting tools later on. They want to fight and they want to be proactive once these level 6 starts to come through from their compositions, once they can start breaking out in these all-out fights. But speaking of fights, we may get a first one around the scuttle here. Is just gonna dip.
As he cursed it, he's like, nope, I heard him talk about it. I'm getting away from that Scuttle Crab. Cold goes in for an engage on bot, though. Decent amount of damage on the missing. Will be Scuttle Crab secured by Aki. This also means they have priority in mid and bot, so they're going to take the first dragon of the game early on. OMG changed it up a little bit.
Yeah, this is very favorable for OMG as well, that they can start getting the early stacking going from the get-go. Because of the fact, when you get to a late game, and if you can threaten Soul, then you can force WE to walk into you. Right now, if WE were able to stall out some games, buy themselves 5 extra minutes, or put themselves in a position where they wouldn't have to contest objective, that would have been great for them. But right now, because OMG so early in the game, start putting this Drake stack in on the clock, that's really favorable for them, because then they can start grouping up around Drakes. Then they can start threatening a Drake and a Soul win condition.
So I gotta pick your brain a little bit, Goldberg, because this is it's not common to see like a double full clear from both junglers early on, right? Usually you're seeing a little bit of influence early, you're seeing that kind of fighting. We're 7 minutes in, we really haven't gotten a lot of skirmishing between what you, or besides what you see typically in the lane. So I want to see how that kind of works out for Team WE, as they seem to be resting just a little bit, waiting to kind of turn on here. But I do want to look at Shanks at the mid lane on the LeBlanc. That is a carry that you need to get gold on. You need to get snowballing.
So right now, what I kind of thought that they tried to set up for WE was they wanted to invade on the top side of the map, because W had priority with Brief and they had priority with Shanks. And if you remember 2 minutes ago, they had that early ward on the Grom, so they had the intel on Aki. So what I thought that they were going to be doing is that they're going to be using that mid lane priority and that top side priority to start fights around Beishang, to try and put Aki behind. But that didn't happen. And because these things are not happening right now, WE are struggling to do anything with their priority. Even with a mid lane priority, they couldn't get the first Drake. Even with top lane priority, they couldn't get any invade up towards the Grump here. So it's starting to get a bit scary for WE if they're not able to find any leads with the priority that they're getting for themselves in the early game. And once again, OMG just for the first move here again.
Yeah, they move into the invade to the jungle. Not going to commit fully, but you did have Cold on the roam timer first. Did find Missing up there, though, so Missing able to get on the roam timer himself, but it's still that proactivity that you want to see from OMG here. A little bit of a change-up of typical style, but they were able to feel pretty comfortable with it. The biggest thing right now is this objective control for OMG, but another side point I want to highlight is that Team WE has passively gotten about a 1,000 gold lead off the back of no fighting, but some lane dominance.
But 1,000 right now is 100% okay. The thing is, though, now with OMG spending resources up towards the top side of the map with Herald, what you saw W immediately do was get into towards the enemy jungle, get all the wards down, get the priority for your laners, and try and deny Abel as much as possible. There's no TP for Cream just yet.
Oh, Abel with the beautiful flash out. Now they're able to turn some damage back. It's looking like first blood for Team WE. The Blade Whirl is not going to be enough to save you today. Who's going down first? It's a kill to Elk. And it's Abel who falls to first blood for Team WE. They're following the fight. Cold goes down next. Cream, you're going down too. The captain goes down with the ship, and it's 3 shots across the bow for Team WE. Breathe is going to get soloed in top. Is he going to get out? He does, as Aki cannot find the response kill.
Yeah, and this is super awkward for WE as well, because if they want to push for the Herald, you're injecting gold into the Ornn, which is by no means the member you would like to do that. I think OMG played into the hands of WE there, because they knew the entire top side of WE would be towards here. You can see the TP from Silas is not up just yet. There it finally comes, but it's like 2 seconds too late. The move has already come through from Shanks, who had the mid lane priority, and Abel, I don't know what you're doing. They already forced away your flash. This minion wave, you're just forced to give it up, because you spent resource towards the top side. Your play was to get the Herald, and because of that, you lose priority on the bot, which WE just equalized on immediately.
And Cream able to get that Unbreakable Will, but was stunned up for so long, the utilization of it didn't come out until his health bar was like halfway down anyways. So a little bit unfortunate circumstance there for Cream, this mid laner of OMG that we put such high hopes on, but there still is this path forward, right? You've given up a decent amount of gold early on, and especially the big thing for me is it's on Elk's Vayne, which is huge in its own right, but you still have to think about the things that OMG are good at.
Also, because of the fact that there is one champion that will neutralize that Unbreakable Will, and that is the Vayne with the W true damage to come through. So, even though Cream does have that Alistar ultimate, if your biggest threat is the Vayne, then you're still going to be struggling. And quite noticeably, after that play as well, they did not opt in to use the Herald up towards the top side of the map. I think that was a very clever call from the side of OMG. I don't think that Herald would have been worth it if they just injected gold into the Ornn, because of the fact that he's a tank. He's not going to be the one that's going to be carrying you with his tank items. You need your carries to get that extra gold. You need to get them to a point where they're able to be a threat for the enemy team.
You know, I just think it's funny, Goldberg, as we set up this whole top side of the map and everything, but all the action has been bot lane as we've gotten all the chaos down there. But that also lends to that change of style, that adaptation from both these teams going into the playoffs. These are kinds of things that you can build off of. And speaking of building off of, you got a 2-kill Vayne down there. That opens up so many options for Team WE. Do you continue to play down that way? Do you go somewhere else? Looks like they're going to opt into playing down in bot. You've got a 3v3 brewing, but Cream is coming as some reinforcements. Elk on the back here. They've got a split. That's a big amount of damage from the Inferno trigger, but OMG are just getting wiped off by Vayne. You cannot stop the Vayne carry. Carry the puppy. It's 3 kills for Elk, and that's a dragon for Team WE.
12 minutes into the game, 5 kills in Elk's Vayne. That is a scary thing if you're an OMG fan right here, and especially for Elk, this must feel good after being subbed out in his last series that he had. Now he's on the wave, now he's able to take control. He's not a weak side on 6, he's able to carry the fights on a scary kite champion like the Vayne here. Now he also gets to push in the wave, he gets to get a favorable reset, and here we'll have the pro view as well just to see how he's done it. I love this when this happens.
I love Vayne pro views because it's so frightening. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time, but the amount of damage you're doing is insane, and you can see the target selection. It's just too clean. He's being able to dodge through the fight, not being focused, and that is one of the big changes I need to see from OMG going into the next couple skirmishes and things along those lines. You have to focus Elk. He is the carry right now, and for his first time performance on the Vayne.
Elk was so untouched that fight that he was able to stack overheal on the enemy champions and not take any damage. That's how easy it was for him to navigate through it. And now with the Herald almost running out, WE forced to just use it up towards the top side. And the reason for that is you can see they were trying to set up for it in the bottom lane earlier. Couldn't really do it. And because of that, lost the Herald, lost the Drake, no longer stacking on their favor. And now a 4k gold deficit against WE.
It's impressive to be able to stay in, though. And I think it would have been nicer if they were able to get that tower. It's so close to falling up there. And that's just that extra gold from the first tower take. But unable to do that, they got to switch up focus. Switch up mindset back to this mid, back to this bot. Is able to use the Blade World to get away. Oh my god, Elk, you do so much damage. No, he can't get it. But Shanks is right here. You got to think Abel is worse for wear. One tick will do it. Shanks picks up a kill. That's his second of the game. Ornhorn popped here. You have some reinforcements. He can't get the second trigger off. And New is just going to have to be the front force in the front line. OMG are here. Cream is here. Big focus from the side of OMG, but they got to run. They have Beishang right on their heels, and it's looking like a dead Aki as Beishang picks up his first kill of the game. They're looking at bot lane. They're looking at dive. Team WE is unstoppable at this point. Goldberg, just get him out of there as Elk picks up his next kill. It's 6 total for the Vayne.
What do you do when your AD carry can't even 1v1 the enemy AD carry on the tower? Elk is taking over this game, and WE, we've always talked about, wow, they're so good at facilitating Brief. Look at him. He's just standing alone. This first game has been all about Elk on the Vayne, and because he's so ahead of the curve already, he's just one-shotting the enemy carries. He's so scary right now on this Vayne, and right now what I think WE is going to be doing, they're just going to be moving him around the map the entire time. He's going to be the player you're playing for, because right now, who's going to stop him on the enemy team? Ornn's not tanky enough. Silas with Unbreakable Will is not going to do it, and then Abel under tower, like, it's just so...
This is just dirty.
Look at the damage coming out here.
Oh,
wow.
God, that's despicable. That's despicable. And the fact that the rest of the team is there to back him up. I think that's the biggest thing for me is like everybody seems to be on the same page. And you get to see the rest of this fight lay out. Beautifully done by Missing to cancel the secondary activation of the Ornhorn as well.
Yeah, I think Missing in the entire fight actually just played it quite well. Really good at setting up the head bob against walls every time. So as you said yourself there, he did it on the Ornn, but it's also the setup they get on Kreen as the fight continues here. And Beishang, really nice job setting it up with the slow as well, but we're just going to go out of that and get to the second Herald immediately, where it seems like WE, they're just keeping up the pressure. They're just taking over the jungle of OMG right now, and what they're probably going to be doing right now is just have Shanks in the mid lane, make sure that he will always have that first move with him pushing in the enemy, so they'll be busy trying to clear waves, and then you can focus on these tier 2 turrets. Remember, killing a tier 2 turret in a side lane right now gives 600 gold. That's the value of 2 kills. It is so incredibly good if you're able to pick up these for the second Herald. It brings you so much value.
Yeah, it's a lot of that standing gold still left on the table for you to get back in the game with. But the biggest thing for me right now is, I know you probably have some as well. I hope everybody at least has experienced it once, but Vaynes are scary. First of all, that's all I'm going to say. But the second thing I'm going to say is when they get fed early on, it is a late game hyper carry that can just absolutely demolish games. And to deal with that is so difficult, especially when you're looking at the composition that OMG have for themselves. And I think that, you know, Abel on the Samira, there's been some bright moments at least for Samiras in the past, but it has been absolute lane domination from Team WE. And it's not just the bot lane, right? You're seeing so much pressure from Shanks in the mid lane. They're even going to take the mid lane tower as well, maybe even the tier 2, and then Breathe able to solidify the side lane. Maybe he's not been involved as much, but it's still this strong presence for Team WE.
It definitely is, and just like that, they took over two laners right there with the 2 turrets.
So
they're just
many
going to be moving the
towers.
pressure down towards the bottom lane, and you know, I think they're going to be able to make good use of this as well and just take it over there. There you go, 3 turrets at the span of 1 minute. WE they're not giving up.
Missing a little bit low on health, but Cream is as well. Heartbreaker comes out. You're getting resets now. As Missing is the one that gets the kill. Elk has been focused now. He will go down. No, he doesn't. The Condemn saves his life. And they will continue to press forward. You're getting continued resets from Beishang as well. And that is almost an ace against OMG. It's 18 minutes in, and they're losing an inhib, Goldberg.
I can't believe this. Not only did they just stay for 2 turrets, 3 turrets, and they actually took the fight as well, and they won out of it. I think you said it correctly there. The Condemn from Elk genuinely saved that fight. The fact that that shutdown did not go over to the enemy really solidified that. I thought the call was, all right, we're going to be taking the turret. There's a Drake up as well. We can be stacking that now as well. They just don't care. They just go and Cream immediately, and even though he's got the Unbreakable Will, nothing is stopping them. You got to give the flank here from Aki, but the fact Elk just gets him with the Condemn, even though Aki tries to dodge him with the flash, he just flashes towards another wall. So it's like, what do? There's a wall here, there's an on queue over there, and there's a third wall over here. It's just nothing is working out for OMG right now.
And that's something I love going into this best of 5. We labeled out, like, what is the growth? What do we see the internal meta of this best of 5 become between these two teams? Well, you know, one way to shake that up, Goldberg, is to just smash game number 1. That mental advantage you can get in the series is huge. We got to see how that plays out, as New is going to find Missing. They find a little bit of damage. This might be an overextension because they got 4 members of Team WE behind, but now they've got the full strength of OMG's squad. They want to go for this fight, it seems. Aki already burning the Crescent Guard, is out of cooldowns, and that means Team WE are ready to pounce. Missing a little bit low. There's the Ornhorn back, the re-engage from OMG. They have found Elk. That's a huge shutdown, and that will force Team WE off of the fight.
That's a big shutdown. 1,000 gold going over to the side of Cream. It does not put them in a more favorable position when you talk about map state. They're still very much 8k down. We've seen them come back from 7k deficits, but make no mistake, this is still very much WE favored, and you need more miracles like that. That was WE just being very overstepped. That was WE just being very disrespectful. They were fighting for vision control around the blue side, on the side of OMG right here, but they didn't need to be here. There's 1 minute until the Drake spawns. You can see on the minimap, Brave is pushing up towards the top side of the map. So initially, they're just running into a 4v5 situation, and even though Elk does a lot of damage, once this exhaust comes down, I think you just back out here. It's still a 4v5. The return to come through with the on-horn, it's just not good enough from Elk when he doesn't have a flash. Super easy to pick him off.
They barely touched Elk there with that Ornhorn too. It's just a little side touch, but it's enough to take down the ADC of Team WE. Somebody who's been getting a ton of the resources, and now using those resources, Team WE turned their sights on the Baron.
Yeah, I mean, what are they supposed to do? You're playing against one of the best champions at taking down a Baron with the Vayne here. Like, yes, you're coming in now, but there's multiple pink wards that's denying vision from the side of OMG. And they only have one blue trinket. That blue trinket is clearing the mid lane right now, enable. And at the same time, Brave is just down in the bot side clearing minions. They're doing this as 4 people. WE own the entirety of Summoner's Rift right now, but they're trying to collapse on him.
Ooh, all right, he stayed a little bit extra to get that inhib. He might be going down here. He flashes into the Ornhorn. There's the double setup, and Cream gets his second kill of the game. OMG are able to find it.
Nicely done there by New. And I mean, it's the small things you gotta appreciate for OMG right now, because they do not have a lot going well for them right now. Brave flashing into that Ornhorn, I mean, just nice predict from New. I think he was stressed to the fact that he knew a lot of members was coming for them, so he just had to flash immediately, and because of that, New hit it. But 4 sides on the top now from Elk, pushing in.
You can't really go into that. That's a lot of damage from Elk. The shutdown on Elk not going to be there just yet. There it is, though. Cream able to find it. Missing a little bit low. Heartbreaker comes out, but Beishang is trying to get away from the fight. No, he goes right back in, but he gets taken down himself. Cream is starting to put on a heck of a performance and earn that Rookie of the Split trophy he's got, because he is bringing up OMG.
And just like that, they only have 1 Baron buff left on the map on WE. Shanks is the only one to Baron now. They overstepped once again as 4 people on the top side now. I think they're just getting too overconfident with Elk. He is incredibly fed, but you can't just walk 1v5 every time and just outplay your opponent. That's the 2nd time in a row that Cream has just been able to pick up shutdowns now.
And I honestly just like the decision making from OMG here. They realize, like, you can't just let a Vayne kite you like that, poke you down. Aki says, I'm popping the Crescent Guard, I'm going in. We got to get the engage on this guy. They do find it in the end. And Cream, as I was mentioning, is just looking so good on the Sylas. You might have gotten some nerfs, but it's still a strong champion, a lot of versatility in it as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think this is also a testimony to the comp of WE and OMG. Right now, OMG, you can still quite clearly see it. They do teamfight quite well. The problem for them is that WE got so far ahead as they did in the early game. But we've had this criticism a lot for WE throughout the entirety of the split. They are a genuinely great early game team. And once you get to the mid to late game, they start dropping the ball. They start making plays like this. And the thing is, it's weird because it's not one consistent factor. It's just usually small hiccups that will cost them the game so often. And it's hiccups you can't commit any longer unless you want OMG to crawl themselves back into this game, which we thought was impossible just 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, and that's what I want to dive into a little bit more as we're getting the setup from Team WE and these invades. But it's just so crucial to talk about. OMG's focus on that late game. You got to get the scaling. You got to get those late objectives, the dragon control, especially that 3rd dragon. And when you start turning those on, Team WE with that early advantage. We've seen that play out here, but Team WE do have some scaling factors. They do have some possibilities in the late game to combat that strength of OMG, the hands diff that we were highlighting earlier. And it's got to be off the back of Elk, but it's also the positioning of the team and how they want to take fights. Do not let that confidence be your downfall.
I completely agree, and luckily for OMG as well, this is just a Cloud Soul. Cloud Soul, I think the most beneficial member right now in WE is going to be the Vayne for this, so she get that extra movement speed, and obviously it does become harder to catch her, but it's the fact that you don't have to worry about too much. It's not extra damage on everyone. It's not an Infernal Soul LeBlanc that will just stop you in, Q you, and all of a sudden that's half your HP. It's still very close to it, Shanks here, while he's controlling the rest of the vicinity in the jungle of OMG, but it's still an objective that gives you time to scale here from the side of OMG, and I think that's the crucial part for them right now.
Something else I want to focus in on is the itemization that we're seeing here. A lot of AP already in the pockets of Shanks. He's got the Ludens. He's also got 10 stacks on his Magi's. And he has a building to the death cap here. So you can appreciate that. But it's also a 3.5 item spike for Elk on the Vayne. Got to be careful of that one. I will want to see Cream turning it on when he gets to that 3 item spike, because I think that this is where OMG can start to look for those picks again and find those advantages, even though they are so far in the deficit.
That's the thing, but how does OMG or W start closing out this game in the meantime? Because right now, OMG is doing a very good job at just dealing with the pressure. Even though they have an inhibitor down, they don't mind setting new up over there. Even though they're losing a lot of their camps, they're still stalling for time. And right now, WE is not able to get extra objectives. So Seoul is on the map in 3 minutes. Baron will be on the map in 1 minute as well. I think for WE, they want to set up this Baron. And with that Baron, they want to try and make one last push as 5 or try and split up the map where they're not getting caught, and Breathe is able to just excel his pressure on the side lane, as we saw beforehand, before the mistake came through from WE.
And we are on Soul Point for Team WE. It's been a little bit quiet there when we've been talking about the Dragon front, because it has been a lot of Team WE being able to find those here now that we've gotten the Soul. We talked earlier in the game how important the Soul can be in terms of what you can do with it on the map, where you can play around when you're on Soul Point with the push and pull that you can have. And I think that this is where Team WE can really succeed in and close out this game. As you were kind of saying, get that Baron buff, get the finishing part of this game, cross your T's, dot your I's, and they are focusing themselves up to this top side.
Yeah, but the item spikes has come through from the side of OMG as well. It's not 3 items on the AD carry, but it is the shield bow and it is the collector, which is a pivotal item for the Samira. Right now, Shanks
upgraded
is on a flank
Everfrost
as well
for Cream.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Got
The
a
on
decent
items has
one.
started to come through as well at this point in time. Rabbitin's not there just yet, but you can clearly see Shonius is there as well.
Oh.
Cold might be getting caught now.
He is taking a lot of damage. Does dodge out of the accelerated shot blast. Goes Golding, missing, taking a ton of damage off the back of it. Does Shanks get the side angle here? Does not find it. OMG able to turtle up and stay strong together.
The Baron is live, and with them being pushed back now, there's nothing stopping OMG for just starting this one. Remember,
They're
Vayne
just
is still
starting
very
it,
much
yeah.
in the team. She's even stronger than before.
They gotta
Minions
deal
is
with the
pushing
bot
into your bottom
lane.
half of the map. You have to do something as OMG right now.
Breathe have TP. Breathe has TP just in case he wants to be the finishing blow to the squad. But that is Baron buff given over to Team WE. That is the second Baron for them, and you gotta expect they're gonna push into the base extremely hard.
Yeah, this time around, I think you can just set up the bot side, you can set it in the mid, you can have 2 lanes pushing in. If you don't feel capable for taking a fight around that, then you just move up towards the top side afterwards and try and clear out the last inhibitor. You need to move around as a cohesive unit now and not get picked off one by one, because they still have a lot of pick potential. The Abduct Abscond from the side of Green, the Zenith Blade from Cold together with the Solar Flare. You can't get caught right now as WE. You need to put the finishing touches onto the game now.
And it's so crazy to me, and that shows a little bit of breadth to this series, that it is a 10,000 gold lead for Team WE, but we still have hope that OMG can find these fights. We've seen Cream be able to turn it on when it matters most, and it's not ever over until the Nexus explodes.
It's definitely not, and problem for OMG is right now that the poke will come through from Breathe. The poke will come through from Shanks, who's just going to be distorting over and hitting you with these sigils. So at one point in time soon for OMG, they have to feel confident to just take a fight, because if they don't, they'll just slowly but surely get strangled out of their own base here.
Oh, it looks like they're just getting strangled out anyways. Aki is almost dead, has to back off. That's going to signal Team WE to take these inhibs. They've got every lane pushing. Every tower is going to go down here with the focus from Team WE, and that could just be the nail in the coffin for game number 1 of OMG, because it is so difficult to come back from flooding super minions in their base. They want to defend. They want one last moment, but they've already lost Cream, a big piece to the puzzle, and OMG, they're sticking in the fight. They're slogging it out, but Team WE's fists are just too strong. They've been training for too long, and Team WE will finish off game number 1. They've just got a couple more T's and I's to dot off and cross, but these last Nexus towers will be going down, and OMG fall to Team WE in game 1.
And there it finally happens. It's the inconsistencies that we have seen in WE, but nonetheless, a huge early game lead they got themselves put them in a position where even though they got caught off guard in the mid game, even though it started to look like OMG came a bit back to life, it was still a huge gold lead. WE was just able to take over the objectives, and Elk on this vein, able to shred the first Baron, then the second, and then afterwards they just moving around as a cohesive unit, not letting anyone get caught off guard. That was the big moment for WE. That was the moment OMG couldn't do anything any longer because the wallet was just simply too big from the side of WE.
Man, I just look at that triple kill on bot lane for Team WE after just the confidence play coming out from them. It just all seemed downhill from there from OMG, and you see the gold graph. It is a little bit downhill from there as you saw that early influx into Elk on this vein, not having pulled it out in the regular split in the summer, but here in the playoffs, it's that adaptation that gives Team WE the leg up in this series.
Yeah, I think it's for the most part because a lot of the champions we use right now in the bot lane in the LPL doesn't really excel at the early game. A lot of them is there to be proactive in the mid to late game. So once you see some of these champions, once you can get the support counter pick, you can pick yourself an AD carry like Vaynes that gets kind of free scaling. I think the majority of the problem here for OMG was the fact that they decided to start up Herald. As soon as this happened, WE just capitalized on it immediately and took control of all over the bot side. They made an adaptation to say, Breathe, you're playing against an North. There's nothing you can do here. He's got double armor. We can't do nothing. So let's move it towards the bottom lane and just starve Abel out. Abel, too greedy for resources, played into the hand of WE. And as soon as Elk picked up those first kills, as soon as he was able to just solo Abel on the turret as well, I mean, I thought to myself, that is game. That Vayne is just too far ahead. There is no way you come back from this one.
And I got to give a special shout out to Shanks. It was this member of the team that we said, is a little bit behind Breathe in the spotlight. Breathe is this huge piece to Team WE, something they really like to play around. This time taking a little bit more of a backseat role, but still having big influences. I got to say that split push at the bottom when they were taking that Rift Herald and getting all that pressure down there was huge. But Shanks coming up clutch against Cream, the rookie of the split here, Goldberg.
Yeah, completely. Cream, the guy with the second most solo kills. Shanks, a guy that's rarely talked about when we talk mid laners in the LPL, but with the LeBlanc into the Silas, the priority he was able to get, the priority to have the first move down towards the bottom side of the map, to move up to get vision on the top side of the map, it just put a very good read on the early game that kind of put them in that favorable position as we've already established.
The dude blind picked it, by the way, as well. Just gonna throw that one out there, but we gotta sit it to a little break. We gotta get ourselves ready for game number 2. The OMG comeback has to start here soon, and we'll see if it can happen in game number 2. We'll be right back.
The goal of every region is to reach for the top. And for the LPL, that once far off dream has become a reality. But the truth is, it wasn't a smooth rise to the throne.
Uzi's devastated. 就非常的不开心吧，因为当时在比赛中自己的心态没有调整好。
There were obstacles. Obstacles that the dragon couldn't seem to scale, time and time again. So we were left questioning when the stars would finally align. But what we seem to have forgotten, what seemingly slipped our minds, is that eventually a dragon grows its wings.
OMG's chasing success. Royal never give up. Rule the world. Winning MSI 2018.
IG are on the Nexus. The LPL has never won before, but that will change today. The Crownless are finally king.
The Nexus is being focused. It's going down.
RNG, they're on the Nexus. Damwon has no ability to stop this.
Now the world is watching, studying the playstyle that some have considered too crazy to mimic. But for the LPL, all they've had to do is ramp it up. There's 10 fierce teams that each believe they have the right to the throne. but there is only room for one. So to all combatants, prepare to fight.
Brian clears the waves so they won't quite just get it, but a Magnet Storm is insane! MLC is still alive, so is all the summoners. Oh, the Moonlight Vigil is huge! He's one of the best in the world at it, and he goes, oh, he gets the steal way!
Oh my goodness, this is the party you're looking for. LNG's early pro activity coming alive here. 4-0 for LNG.
Well, they got through, 4 of them made it through. The recalls have to come in from top esports. It's an open nexus though. Ray are gonna do it. Knight is unbelievable. The triple kill.
Viper comes up clutch again.
Angel blows them to smithereens on the Akali.
Wants to back and make an attempt to return.
Oh my god!
This is the era of the LPL. Crazy plays, crazy fans. And you'd be crazy to try to predict what happens next.
To fight.
我们夏季赛打的要比春季赛好了很多，然后暴露的问题还是有点多的，然后那些问题就我们认真复盘，到季后赛解决。我跟悲伤越打越好了，也沟通配合越来越好了。然后季后赛的话，就尽量多加强我们中野联动吧，然后有自信，就这样就行。
Staying confident is key. You heard it from the mid laner of Team WE. Shanks coming in clutch in that last game. Gotta love the rhyming, right, Goldberg? It is Mizell, it's Goldberg. We're tackling game number 2 here shortly of this second day in the LPL Summer Playoffs. Team WE come out swinging in game number 1. And, you know, we just heard from the man himself, Shanks gets MVP.
I mean, I think there's an argument you could have given it to Elk after that performance, but I think what was the most important was that he did the most damage as well, this guy. This guy was one of the key facilitators of these roams to come through with Beishang because he continuously had mid lane priority. He always had the first move, he always had the priority to get around the map, get the wards down, move down towards the bottom side of the map, and then towards the end as well. You saw what started that fight, which gave the finishing push. It was Shanks that just distorted forward, hit a sigil, hit the chain, and all of a sudden, Aki no longer able to fight, and because of that, and because of all these small pokes that keeps coming through from this LeBlanc, he just showed up, and it quite clearly showed why they blind picked this champion. They're not afraid to put him on a champion like this.
That's the biggest thing for me is it was a blind pick, man, on the red side too. Gotta appreciate that, but it's also impressive to be able to go up against Cream, one of the best in the mid lane here, the rookie of the split, and to have that kind of performance, to pretty much shut him down, except for in the moments where, you know, Team WE were overextending a little bit and Cream was able to capitalize on that. But as a whole, Team WE coming out with some adaptations, maybe not so much of that one-dimensional play this time around.
You know, I'm not willing to give it to them fully, but I'll throw them maybe in there. I'll throw them maybe in there that they are able to play around that bot side of the map. I think it was done in a bit of a easy mode way, kind of. I feel like OMG kind of just gave them that play towards the bottom side of the map where they knew that their bot side was filled with WE members because they were doing Herald. The rest of the members could only be towards the bot side. They saw them clear out the vision of WE. So I think Abel and the rest of OMG, they kind of played into the hands of WE. They got a bit greedy, and because of that, they weren't able to stabilize that early game against WE, which I thought until that point they had actually done a pretty good job at doing, but they just threw it away, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was looking stable until it didn't, and it was that bot lane triple kill that really felt like it threw a wrench in the works. But when we're looking at this series holistically, I do want to touch back on some of the main points we said for both these teams. It was that early game focus from Team WE, and they executed on that pretty nicely. On the other side of the table, though, it is OMG and getting to that late game. There were moments in that game, even though the deficit was huge, that I did have that feeling that OMG could still find those team fights, those hands diffs that we were looking for. But we'll have to see if that adaptation comes from them in game number 2.
I completely agree because, you know, if you remember back from the early game from OMG, the only thing that went for them was the jungler and the bottom lane, but that was how it's supposed to be. The Silas is supposed to be pushed in by LeBlanc, the On was just a weak sider, and the bot lane priority just got completely destroyed by that one roam you had. When that happened, I mean, then you had no priority, and that's where it went wrong. So for OMG, I still think you can go into this second game with your head high because you still had a very good indication of what you wanted to do. You just mis-executed on it a little bit, and it threw your gold lead away.
Yeah, a little bit of maybe change coming in game number 2 to secure that early game, make sure things are a little bit more stable, everything's battened it down. But OMG are going to be back on that blue side, so no change going into game number 2. Team WE on the red. The Ziggs ban, the Olaf, and the Varus going to be coming off the board of OMG. Team WE get the Akali, Renekton, and Set out of there.
So here's the thing, what do they prioritize instead now? Do they still feel like Sensao is the best first pick to go for? Or do they feel like the Viego was one of the factors that they needed from the jungle into team fighting instead? Or is it something entirely different for OMG? But it looks like, just judging from the hover, that they are still going to go with the Sensao. Once again, this is a contested pick by both junglers right here, together with the Olaf, which is why you see that band on blue side. So the skirmishing potential is going to be favoring Aki a bit in the early game, but obviously Viego's still up and available, and I expect that to be picked again for Beishang.
I want to see maybe if it's just, you know, OMG deciding if that early game goes differently, we feel good about the team fights. We feel good about that composition that we had. Team WE feel pretty good about the composition they had as well. They get the first lock-in of the Viego and the LeBlanc to answer immediately after. It's keeping it tried and true from game one.
Same draft. But just
Hey,
getting
we get
a
the
bit of
Syndra
the
this
same
time,
here,
though.
but that's the adaptation. Syndra was hovered before as well, so this seems to be the adaptation instead. And then the Aphelios to come through from Abel now. Now, this can be a bit risky, because Aphelios, the two best supports he can be paired up with is the Thresh and it's the Braum right now. So from the side of WE, you have the ability to take away one of them if you want to play Thresh or Braum, and then you can just ban it as well. So I feel like either you just grab your AD or you grab one of the two supports that's favorites, and it's just going to be the Ashe instead with the pick potential now.
I've been falling in love with Ashe in the meta here recently. The setup that you can accomplish, the amount of enchanted crystal arrows you can just hammer down your opponents with, the utility that comes out of that pick is huge, and especially when you're looking for those picks, right? When you're looking for that early game advantage for Team WE that we saw them get last time around. Into the Aphelios, a little bit more of an interesting matchup, but that's where these support picks are going to be huge. You already see Team WE's focus that way. The Thresh banned away, the big focus, because that duo is so strong between him and the Aphelios. The Trundle is going to be that ban from OMG for their first one in the second phase.
Yeah, and I wonder now what the decision is going to be from WE. Do you ban away the Braum? Do you feel like you want it for yourself? Or do you ban away some of these engage options for OMG? Because right now, OMG, they ban Trundle, and that indicates, all right, we want Leona, we want Nautilus, we want one of these beefy support boys that they can't counter with a Trundle pick where they're able to steal away the resistance right now. So for OMG right now, either you just get rid of the Alistar or something like that again as an engager, or you just get rid of some disengage if that's what you want. The call is really up there for them.
You know, one thing that I'm seeing here that's open still is the Silas. I want to see if anything comes along those lines from both these sides. A little bit of a meme there, but I do like the Jace ban from OMG because you do get that away from Breathe, who had a decently quiet performance in game number one, but it's quiet and deadly, right? You had a lot of strength in the side lane from that Jace from Breathe. So you can appreciate that one, as the Braum is the hover here for Team WE. That Ashe Braum lane is pretty spicy itself, and it's going to be locked in.
Yeah, I think that's just the intelligent way to do it. You know, Aphelios does well with Braum and Thresh. You ban away the Leona as the second one, and then you do a takeaway instead. So there's not too many options left here. I think from the side of OMG, the best one to go for would probably be the Rakan, because there's not really any punishment for you. Rakan doesn't do well into champions with a lot of CC, because then he doesn't get to be a slippery. Then he doesn't get their backline access because he'll get stopped before that. Now, Braum does a horrible job at stopping him, but it seems like OMG, not about that. They're going for the Rel here instead for Cold, to go for one of these team fight comps once again.
And a little bit of comfort coming in that aspect of it, because Rel is one of the most played in the summer split, the regular split, at least for Cold, so at least you get that aspect of it. On the other side, I want to see what this fifth pick is going to be for Team WE. There's still flexibility with the Viego here now, although that has kind of changed in 11-15. They still do have that option for themselves, but this is what I like to see, Goldberg. We get the Mundo and the Death Ball comp from OMG starting to come online.
I think this is just going to be the name of the game from the side of OMG, that they're going to be playing with a weak side top laner for every series. In game one, they started out with the Orange. This time around, they come in with the Mundo. And I think that's really smart, because right now, you know that Brave is getting the counter pick. You know that they're going to be playing weak side with an Ashe Braum lane, and they want to be aggressive towards the top side of the map. So how do you stop this? You stop this by picking a tank instead. And once again, it's double AD towards the top side of the map with a Viego. And now, oh, actually not. Never mind. I'll take that right back. Obviously, it's a Gwen. So this time around, you have mixed damage profiles, which benefits you a bit more into a tank like the Mundo.
And also, you just get the double pickups of the Gwen and the Viego, which is super huge, as they've had such influences in the meta here recently. But after that performance from Beishang on the Viego, like, I am a little bit frightened, because I feel like he had such a say in the early tempo. We did see, you know, double full clears from both junglers before we got that action going, but when the action started happening, Team WE were able to take control of that Viego and help get those resets, and then those fights just kind of came down like dominoes.
I agree, but this time around, I also feel like OMG has a bit more priority to play with. The fact you have a Syndra now in the mid lane instead of the Silas means that now you can actually contest a wave push. Now you can actually walk forward and use those abilities together with range auto attacks to push in the waves towards the LeBlanc. Syndra's Q cooldown with the decreased mana does a better job at getting the wave priority than a LeBlanc who also likes to use the abilities to try and poke down their opponent, while Syndra is going to be using her damage to push in the waves. So this should leave some more breathing room from Aki as well, and some more playmaking potential from what we saw earlier.
I will also highlight that we got the Vayne first time, at least on stage there for the side of Team WE last time, and Elk. This time though, Cream picking up the Syndra, not played in the regular split at least either. So some adaptations from OMG, and see how that plays out for them on the Rift, because it is a best of 5, Goldberg. So they do have a little bit of breathing room here as we go into game number 2. But it's a startup that needs to happen. You got to get the engine revving. You got to get the heaters warmed up and ready to go, because the fight is coming, and its face is Team WE. You see the Rift unfolding in front of us, the beautiful skybox that is the LPL, as game number 2, OMG versus Team WE, is going to be kicking off now.
Ooh, it might be kicking off with a bit of a bloodbath at least. Cole having to crash down to get out of there, but this should leave some early intel towards the side of WE. They are warding the red buff, and they should have the starting lineup now from Aki if he decides to start bot side or if he's up towards the top side of the map.
We'll see what kind of path things go this time. I know we got the full double clear last time around. I still want to see if we have any of that crazy jungle pathing we see, the skipped camps, those kinds of things, the early influence, because I do still appreciate those kinds of moments and the things that you can accomplish in that fact. But the game looked so comfortable from both sides last game that you got to expect a lot of the same game plan, at least early on. Maybe not that 3 kill given over by OMG, but the general strategies at least are going to be the same.
It might be, but we do actually see some rotation. This time around, Beishang is actually starting towards the top side of the map, while Aki is starting towards the bot side of the map, which is completely opposite of what they did in game 1. So this time around, Beishang will be pathing down towards the bot side for his Ash and Braum, and Aki, he's going to be moving up towards the top side to try and attack Breathe.
Missing in a little bit of trouble here. A decent amount of damage put back by Cold and Abel, but Elk able to get some extra shots in as well. Gotta say that bot lane is gonna be a little bit volatile. We saw a lot of influence from the junglers last time in the bot lane. We'll see how that works out this time. This is what I like to see. This is what I wanted to see. Aki skipping some camps, going to top side, trying to get new, trying to shut down Breathe. This big piece for Team WE. It looks like the Ignite's going to be burned. A lot of damage from Breathe, but the sustain is not there just yet. He might be able to find the outplay. They don't feel confident here. Breathe just playing it immaculately. He does have a little bit more than 100 health. Do New and Aki want to go for this one?
No
way. They will not find it. He gets away. He didn't even have flash, Goldberg.
No, but look at this. Beishang has the information now. Aki's only level 2.
No, don't do it to him. Don't do it to him. All right, the smite's going to come out. This is going to be a little bit more of an even fight, but you see, New is not on his way down here just yet. You've got the TP coming in the lane for Breathe, but no smite available. Beishang able to take away that Gromp and get out afterwards.
And there you just have it. So that little skirmish started by Aki, the fact that he started to skip camps just doesn't mean anything, and they're not stuffing. They want to force him out of his own jungle. Mid lane has priority, top side has priority. Aki, he needs to leave.
He does, but he's already down so much CS in the pacing of the jungle matchup. He has to find something, but Beishang is right there to press up these invades, and now you use that priority from bot lane of Team WE to get this scuttle crab, which means it looks like Team WE are going to be able to get the double scuttle.
This is disaster for OMG, and specifically for Aki. He's losing so much in the early game. He lost his top side after the early gank. He doesn't have bot lane priority, so they can't contest the blue side jungle of W either. And as you said yourself, he just lost double scuttle. This Sin Sao has been put so much behind just 3 minutes into the game.
And something that stood out to me is, I was talking to Kelsey Moser before the series, as we mentioned earlier, but something that was big for her was the Beishang versus Aki dynamic and how the differences are there, what's interesting about them, and the fact that Beishang, will typically play a little bit patient, will have those good impacts in those team fights, but this time taking the onus on himself, really living up to that Team WE early game focus and taking it into his own hands here, spotting out the pathing of Aki and making sure that this early game is just not the way he wants to be set up.
Yeah, you're completely right, but I mean, you gotta give credit once again to Brief up towards that top side, make the 1v2 outplay, which facilitates it, so it's a good decision afterwards from a macro standpoint, but it's facilitated by an individual outplay from Brief, and that's what's so beautiful around WE. So now resets are coming through from both junglers. I want to see the difference here. Aki moving up together with Cole towards the top side. Once again, they want to attack top side.
Yeah, the roam timer there for Cold yet again. He's been very proactive on those timers. We'll see if he can get something onto Breathe. They really want to put down Breathe. They feel like this could open up the rest of the map for themselves and maybe just help sustain a little bit of that early aggression from Team WE. Looks like it's going to be awarded out, though, so not necessarily going to go for it just yet. A lot of time spent here by Aki, and being behind in CS does not help your case.
And he's just leaving. He knows right now bot lane is pushed in. I have no idea where Cold is. We haven't seen him shovel in the bottom side of the map. He can only be top side or mid lane right now. And therefore he just backs off. And once again, that's just time wasted from the side of OMG. You can see they're so desperate to try and attack Brief, but he's so intelligent about it. He's not falling for the bait. And now to compare the junglers, Beishang sitting on a Sheen and a Ruby Crystal, while Aki only sitting on that Ruby Crystal. If a fight breaks out between these two junglers, there's nothing you can do about it. And now with bot lane priority being established by the side of WE, with the move from Beishang on towards the Drake, they're just going to be starting it up.
It's early objective control from Team WE yet again. Nice timing on the map and able to get that one as you see Aki coming down that way. But it is just going to go down to Beishang. It is a Mountain Dragon to kick us off here. So no Mountain Soul, but still some spicy ones on the table just in case. But I have to point out, Shanks is oppressing Cream in the mid lane. He's had a CS differential. Cream has done a good job of getting that back into good graces, but it's still the priority gain in mid lane constantly by Shanks.
And that's what we talked about in the early game, or just early in our series as well. Shanks, super underrated as a mid laner, and with Cream coming in with Rookie of the Split, it's a chance for Shanks to just shut up the new blood coming in saying, yeah, you may be getting the Rookie, but I'm a veteran soon in this league as well. And it still takes much more than that to be a great mid laner, which Shanks really is displaying for himself now.
It does indeed. You got to make some experiences happen for yourself. Beishang going for the invade here. Does have that priority on bot lane as Elk and Missing pushed in that wave very, very heavily. Could be contested. This could be where we get first blood if Aki wants to commit to this one. Looks like Red will just go over to Beishang, but the fight afterwards, Beishang has to flash away. Missing with a nice wall, and he's going to be able to back him up as well. Tons of damage by Elk, but now you had the TP come in from New. He's able to join this fight and follow them up. Cream can't get the scatter of the week off there, but can't get the follow-up. Missing is going to go down. Is he? No, they find him in the end. It's first blood for OMG. They have found the early game.
It's first blood, but it's so many resources. Brief is getting so much free time up towards the top side of the map, and you take a look at all the summoner spells. Yes, they're spent everywhere, but the fact that Cream flashed forward only to miss the stun, New flashing forward, not connecting on the right target with the suitcase, and the rest of the members forced to flash out. Abel, no cleanse anymore, into the Ash lane. He's going to be a pivotal target to hit as well. So even though you get the first blood, the gold lead and the map state is still very much favorable for WE, with them stealing away the red buff as well.
And this is Team WE being aggressive, right? Like, they go for the invade even though they know that there's so much presence from OMG on the bot side of the map. And it is a big commit, as you were kind of highlighting too, for OMG. They do TP New down. They have Cream coming here from the base as well. And it's just, you wish you could get more from this. It's a big moment. It's a big pickup. It's a big confidence builder for OMG, but they've got to keep on trekking.
Yeah, because initially that TP, W didn't even see it. Like, they had no idea that a fifth member was joining the fight, but now getting out, they are starting up the Herald.
It is. They're going to turn the fight now, too. A little bit of indecision coming out from OMG as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow is coming down. Missing getting very low. Missing's already dead. Enchanted Crystal Arrow is going to miss as well, but Breathe has found a kill, and that is not what you want if you're on the side of OMG. Shanks now finds his own kill, and they're going to get a double for Breathe in the top lane. He was quiet in game number 1, but he's starting off roaring in game number 2.
OMG, they're trying to answer on the early aggression from WE, but they just don't have the actual damage to facilitate it. Right now, the skirmish come through from the side of Beishang, especially on the Viego. It's just so much further ahead than Aki on the Sinsao.
there's just nothing you can do in those kinds of moments. And it was a little bit of indecision here from OMG. Do they want to commit to that fight? It's New trying to back away, but the AoE Breathe just being consistent in what he was trying to accomplish there. And then the turnaround is just easy for me.
That's the thing, like as soon as the reset starts coming through from the Viego, you already know there's not much more to do about this one, and it's just multiple members going down once again from OMG, and now Herald in hand from Beishang, but just looks like they're not done skirmishing, like they want to keep the aggression up.
They do indeed. Missing able to get away from that aggression, as you were saying, but a lot of bodies from OMG on the bot side here around this Dragon Pit. Still about a minute and a half until that next Dragon comes up. They're just trying to make sure this Vision game is on point.
You're completely right. You can also see how desperate they are to get this ball rolling, to get this aggression rolling, OMG. Cream in the mid lane just sacrificed CS to go for that roam as well. And now, as you rightfully said so yourself, 1 minute until the next Drake comes in line. It would be the second for WE. So I think Beishang, he's just going to be full clearing his top side, and then they're going to start working around with the priority they have from that mid lane, they have from that bot side, to set up the correct vision with the ping wards towards the Drake to make sure OMG they cannot contest.
It's all about the setup here, and we said in our beginning pieces here about OMG, time will tell how this team is able to work out, how this late game is their bread and butter, but they gotta get there. And Team WE have done such a good job of upping the ante here early on in all of these games, and forcing OMG to adapt to that playstyle, to kind of fall into that playstyle a little bit.
Up towards the top side as well now. You mean they're expending so many resources to make sure that even Breathe can just get a favorable back off as well. They might actually commit to a play here. Okay, so I think the decision making is that they anticipate a dive from OMG up towards the top side of the map, because I'm just going to stop that. Shanks may be getting caught.
Shanks getting a little aggressed on. He does have his popped as well. I don't know. Shanks able to get away from that one, but a lot committed, as he will have to get away from mid lane. Team WE continued pressure up top lane, continue to try to get Breathe ahead. I think that's something else that's changed a little bit from the side of Team WE in this second game. Yes, you had a Vayne in game one. It's easy to put some resources there, but now to adapt to that and give Breathe the tools he needs to succeed on this win.
I mean, this is just a testimony to how much they're willing to put into Breathe. They didn't care about their Herald, their Drake stacking here. They were just like, all right, we don't care. We're just going to get the Rift Herald in Breathe, get him that extra gold. We're going to see if we can get the second charge as well. And because of this, you're losing a lot on the bot side of the map. You had all the priority to play for. They're still not done trying to play for it.
Enchanted Crystal Arrow, there's the cleanse. Able a little bit low here. The approach velocity brings Elk into the fight. Cold re-engages to just try to get him off his back, but they're all so low. Flash forward from Elk, but it's his doom. It's traded back and forth. We got 1-for-1 on the bot. Shanks trying to get the outplay into Aki while he's taking the dragon, but OMG will have reinforcements for this objective, and they'll be able to tie that up in 1-to-1 fashion.
And just like that, they finally get a kill for themselves down towards the bottom lane with that priority. They do get the Drake on OMG, but more crucially, Marcel, they got 2 turrets up towards the top side. They even got a third charge with that Rift Herald. So not only was that the plates, the first turret going over to Breathe and Beishang, they also shared the gold on the tier 2 turret, which is 300 gold to each as well. So they just got so much extra on the top side of the map from that Herald play.
Something that has stood out to me so heavily in these games so far, and we're only in game 2, right? We still probably have a long night ahead of us, at least I'm hoping so. But it's the passive gold leads that Team W has been able to get on top of their early advantages. And we're going to dive into that bot lane fight, a little bit of trickiness coming out, and Cold able to find the re-engage there to stop Abel from going down initially. But it's the trade back of kills and the full commit down here from both squads.
Yeah, you're completely right. I think in the end, it's still very much fine to trade your support for an AD carry. If this had just been the play in the vacuum, you even got the Drake, so under normal circumstances, would have been very nice for OMG, but the problem for them is that they're still not able to neutralize the aggression to come through from the top side of the map. They're still not able to stop this early aggression we always talk about from WE.
It's a very tough thing to deal with, especially in moments like this. And as you're staring down this gold differential and you know, pieces coming online for Team WE, I do want to say, you know, this top side of the map, Beishang and Breathe, you've got to find a way to deal with it. And I know that Aki and OMG have been putting a lot of eggs into the bot lane basket, but at some point you've got to deal with this split side. You've got to deal with this top side of the map that is now down 2 towers, 2.5 towers or so. And with Baron coming up and everything, like Rift Herald's still available because it's so early in the game. Like you need to get a hold of the top side.
Yeah, you're completely right, but you can already see they're trying to come in and establish that aggressive vision on WE. They want to take away everything they can, because right now they're just so much further ahead. So a fight might break out around this, but it seems like they're just going to be backing off after getting the blue buff.
Oh no, they're not backing off anytime soon. The Crescent Guard comes out, but Breathe has already found it. Oh no, it's looking like hell in a handbasket right now for OMG. As new as the next to fall, the resets are coming out, and Team WE are finding it again and again. It is a full team composition that is coming online for Team WE, and everybody's participating.
One thing is WE so far ahead. Another thing is OMG just keeps running into them. Instead of trying to cross-map anything, they just want to handshake every given fight, and they lose out of it because of this. The cherry on top as well in that fight was just Elk casually shooting the Crystal Arrow and hitting Cream with it as well. So not only do you get the kills to blue buff, the camps from the OMG's jungle, you get the mid prow, you get the Herald, and once again tempo and gold advantage over to the side of WE.
And that's where I want to highlight a couple of points here. I was talking a little bit in the draft where I've really been liking this Ashe pickup here in the meta and the utility it brings, because you can set up plays like this. Cream is able to find a way out there. The Scatter of the Week's coming back up, things along those lines, but he just can't because the CC is so long and the target calling from Team WE is so good. And, you know, you're looking at this here, and we talked about it earlier in this game, where OMG might be buying into the Team WE style, and not necessarily, it's not a good fit, right? Like, you're seeing this OMG team where they are a late game strength. They are this hands-diff team, but when you're giving up these fights early on, it's really rough.
It definitely is, especially when so many members are ahead on the side of WE. It's not only one member you have to neutralize, it's multiple. And usually we would talk about OMG toward the third Drake, towards this 20-minute mark where they actually start excelling, starts coming back into the game. But it just haven't felt like that. And now with the second Herald for Beishang, where do you think that's going? Well, that's going straight to Breathe once again.
It's the Breathe
and they want to
show.
push this Mundo as far back. Can they get 3 turns this time around? They already have 1. They'll for sure get the second. All right,
I'm just
let's
gonna
count it
say,
up.
I feel bad for New here. Like, he's just been left. He's like, guys, I'm losing my towers. I don't know what to do here. Somebody call some help. But it will get another charge off. That means top in-hip tower and bottom in-hip tower. A little bit worse for wear here. But OMG need to find something to hold on to as Team WE continue to push up into their faces.
Yeah, it's not a good side for OMG. They just keep falling further and further behind. And now, 20 seconds onto the Infernal Drake. This is the Drake you absolutely do not want to play against, because of the fact that when you get the arrows from Elk, when you get Shanks just distorting forward, if he has that Infernal Soul, you're just dead. There is nothing you can do about it. And right now, you're incapable of fighting, but it looks like they're going to try anyway.
Hey, I mean, you pick a team fight composition, why not just throw it at the wall and see what sticks here? But I think that is something to highlight for OMG, is they do still have that strong team fighting, but as you get further and further behind, that does not become something that you can play around. Breathe on the flank here. New might be getting caught. Breathe is now going to join the fight. Missing is in some trouble. Uses the Glacial Fissure nicely, as the Harrowing Mist is going to be nicely done by Breathe. The big engagement, Cold, the Moonlight Vigil on top of it, and Cold has found himself 2 kills. Now you've got Elk into the fight. The rest of Team WE getting a little bit low, as Elk is still here, but Abel and Cream just can't do it. They can't hang, and Abel gets his shield bow popped. Breathe looking for it. Elk gets the slow. One more kill, one more attack. Elk gets the shutdown onto Abel, and Cream, he can't get the kill on the Shanks.
What an incredible fight to come out from both teams there. That was absolutely insane from Cold in the beginning, finding those 2 pickups. But then Shanks, once again, under LeBlanc, just finds a flash in with the distortion and one-shots multiple members in this fight. Let's take a look at that again, because you rightfully call out the flank from Breathe in the beginning, but they don't care about that. Everyone's on missing here. And as soon as Cold find Beishang and missing in this Magnet Storm, it's starting to look like a dire situation from the side of WE, but from the mixed damage with Breathe, and Shanks just jumping in with the double distortion to blow him up for an immediate triple kill. It just starts to go south from the side of OMG. And my word, Shanks, we talked about him, might be one of the most underrated mid laners we have, and he's trying to change that right now in this series.
He absolutely is. The dude is 5-0 on, as actually we were getting a fight on the main screen. Shanks coming up, speaking about him, but OMG again opting into these fights, opting into these skirmishes, Goldberg.
I mean, they kind of have to at some point. It is the style of OMG. We talk about them being a bit one-dimensional, and this is what they do. Like, they almost came back in that fight as well, despite being down in gold. And if they were able to pick up that fight, if they were able to get the Infernal Drake for themselves, they would have bought themselves more seconds. That is what OMG does so well, usually against other teams. But it's also just a mismatch, with WE being one of the best early game teams we have, where they will continuously have a lead moving on to these third Drake objectives.
And Shanks just has so much say on the map right now. 5 kills, has 10 stacks on his Magi, just making another attempt at an MVP run here in this series, and that's something you got to keep an eye on as we go further. But something else here is the setup for these next objectives, right? We're hitting that 20-minute mark. Baron is on the table. Team WE have shown that they're very confident in the fact that they can take Barons here already. Cold, speaking of confidence, Shanks almost finds the kill on OMG. The support, and Crystal Arrow comes across. Oh no! Aki is caught. Aki is dead, and that's gotta be a signal for the Baron.
That's that beautiful long-range pickup you talk about as well, Marcel, with the Ash. As soon as you get the slow from the Braum, as soon as that arrow hits, you start stacking up the passive. Nothing to do. And Shanks, he's just looking for more at the same time. I don't think OMG can do much about this situation. This Baron should just go over to the side of WE.
Shanks able to play the best bodyguard you could ever ask for at this point. Baron's just going to go down. They're going to try to get mid to defend against this tower push. Maybe even finding the engage here. Breathe looking for it. Has the hard miss to dodge a lot of the damage coming through, but missing goes in now. They're still following this fight. Moonlight Vigil comes across, but isn't going to find much. Abel getting a little bit low as it's already cold down. They get a trade back. Breathe does fall. It's a nice little shutdown, but Abel's going to get heartbroken as he is taken out. The resets come alive for Beishang.
And now it's just starting to turn into a run over from the side of WE. This time around, no people getting caught off guard there. A cohesive unit moving around in the enemy jungle, setting up the waves with the Baron buff, taking care of the members of OMG, and just pushing down towards the middle lane now.
I wanted to set up, item advantages, things that we could look at going further on, but Team WE just want to put that into the dirt here. They want to take down some of these motives, at least for OMG, where that inhib tower is a big point of pressure and a big moment for Team WE to continue to snowball.
Yeah, and once again, it's coming from Shanks. He's finding one of these picks towards the enemy jungle, and then the setup with the Viego, the stun into the Winter Spite, and the passive to hit. I mean, there's nothing for Aki to do. He's already overstepped, and he don't even know it. And then it's just the ground that Shanks create as well, the pressure that he's able to push on towards them, with missing landing a great Glacial Fissure to pick up onto Cream. And you know what? Yes, in the end, you do get a kill onto Abel, but it's not going to do much. That shutdown, you're still so far behind. And with the Heartbreaker just to come through at the last instant, it's just tragic to watch.
And it's right back to it, Goldberg. They just don't quit. It is the Energizer Bunny over here, and its faces Team WE, because they do not want to give up this advantage. They're back at that 10,000 gold lead like we were in game number 1. They are feeling some deja vu here, and it's feeling really good.
It definitely is, and now they're just excelling that map pressure. They have 3 members in the mid lane pushing up with Baron buff, Breathe up towards the top side, and Shanks towards the bottom side of the map. So they'll be just juggling the pressure now from the Baron up minions and try and juggle OMG around, try to make them collapse to this inevitable push coming through now.
They got bot lane focus. Top lane is pushing as well with Breathe. Mid lane as well. You've got every single lane pushing for Team WE. They can't get split apart here if OMG want to go for a full commit. Or if OMG just stay here, they will lose all 3 inhibs as the siege comes down. The Baron is still available for another 30 seconds or so. And Team WE are just looking to put that nail in the coffin yet again. It's just like game number 1, Goldberg.
It definitely is, and all that pressure is just starting to collapse now. Top side down, mid lane down, bot lane sure to fall now as well.
Big damage from OMG. You see they're kind of baiting for a fight. They want to go in. Aki takes the engage. He takes the onus. Elk uses the Enchanted Crystal Arrow the wrong way, but doesn't even matter. It's a little bit of flare to come in the end as Team WE are going to wipe off OMG again. The minions are going to help him finish it off as Shanks goes for the kill on the Cream. He wants to make sure to get that confidence built, but this is going to be game number 2, going even more handily to Team WE as they are coming out in this playoffs swinging hard. That's 2-0 up, and OMG are on match point to be eliminated.
All right, just give Shanks the second MVP already again on the LeBlanc. He's doing such a phenomenal job on this champion, and question has to come through now for OMG. What do you do to shut it down? You tried to silence, you tried to Syndra, nothing in stopping this man. And you know what I think is the most impressive about Shanks? It's the fact that he's not getting resources.
Exactly.
He's doing this all by himself, because they're expending their resources up towards the top side of the map or down towards the bottom in the early game, and Shanks is just there, 1v1 against Cream, getting all this stuff done for himself. That is super impressive.
And I know we're going to highlight it again, but against the rookie of the split. And like you could say the rookie aspect of it, it's the playoffs, you know, these kinds of things, the pressure mounting on side of Cream can be factors in that. But it is the fact that we've seen such dominating play from that mid lane, and being able to see that kind of performance from Shanks is huge. When we came into the day, setting up top lane, setting up bot lane, setting up everywhere except for this mid lane, and looking at Shanks to kind of step up. He's doing just that. But my eyes turn over to OMG. You've got to stop this reeling. You've got to stop the slow down trend that you're seeing in this series, because Team WE have found the way to win, and it's looked good both times, but there has been little changes in the way that they've accomplished that.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting because I think they did the greatest job at neutralizing WE in the first game, where they were only 1k behind by 15 minutes, which was fine because they had that teamfight composition that was going to outscale. But then they started to be aggressive at times where it just kind of felt wrong. And I think for OMG, it comes down to the decision making. There's a lot of times in this series where we have already seen them get caught or take a fight that we already know they're not going to be winning. It just seems like they're losing grasp of the game, and they're losing hope of the late game as well. So they're not even finding a win condition in their own strength either. So for OMG, either you just have to completely change up the drafting schedule to the point where it has to be completely early game focused, or you have to play towards your mid game win conditions, or else it's just not going to work out if you continue like this.
Yeah, Team WE forcing that adaptation out of OMG. You may be a one-dimensional team, but you've got to find another dimension in here to get these wins. As Shanks, as you see on the board there, so much damage done on the LeBlanc, and had a very strong performance last time. This one was more of a LeBlanc spotlight.
It definitely was. Last time around, the Vayne kind of rolled away with the game, but now we clearly got to see what Shanks does on this LeBlanc and how well he excels the pressure that he has on the champion. I'm thinking back to that team fight where it looked lost because of the cold engage that came through, where they pick up 2 kills, and Shanks together with Brief with their AoE damage just blows up 3 members immediately for an instant triple kill, which I haven't seen on a LeBlanc in a while. When we see all these blind pick LeBlanc come through, and we see them fail terribly so many times, what they're thinking when they lock in that LeBlanc, they're thinking of Shanks. They're thinking of a play like that. But to them, it never happens. But to Shanks, it just seems like it happens every game in this series.
Yeah, and the biggest thing for me is what kind of adaptation we see from OMG going into the next game, right? They've been on blue side both times around. How has that worked out for them? We've got to find out going into game 3, because OMG are backs up against the wall. Elimination on the brink. Team WE trying to make that headlong forward push into the playoffs to make them themselves known in the sphere of the LPL Summer Split. And we will see how that all works out on the other side of this break. We'll be right back.
The goal of every region is to reach for the top. And for the LPL, that once far off dream has become a reality. But the truth is, it wasn't a smooth rise to the throne.
You really have to wonder.
就非常的不开心吧，因为当时在比赛中自己的心态没有调整好。
There were obstacles. Obstacles that the dragon couldn't seem to scale, time and time again. So we were left questioning when the stars would finally align. But what we seem to have forgotten, what seemingly slipped our minds, is that eventually a dragon grows its wings.
RNG's chasing success. Royal never give up, rule the world. Winning MSI 2018.
IG are on the axis. The LPL has never won before, but that will change today. The Crownless are
on the Nexus. Damwon has no ability to stop this.
Now the world is watching, studying the playstyle that some have considered too crazy to mimic. But for the LPL, all they've had to do is ramp it up. There's 10 fierce teams that each believe they have the right to the throne, but there is only room for one. So to all combatants, prepare to fight.
Triumph clears the waves, so they won't quite just get it, but a Magnet Storm is insane! SMLC is still alive, so is all the Summoners. Oh, the Moonlight Vigil is huge! He's one of the best in the world at it, and he goes, oh, he gets this steal way!
Oh my goodness, this is the party you're looking for. LNG's early pro activity coming alive here. 4-0 for LNG.
Well, they got through, 4 of them made it through. The recalls have to come in from top esports. It's an open Nexus though. RA are gonna do it. Knight is unbelievable. The triple kill.
Viper comes up clutch again.
Angel blows them to smithereens on the Akali.
Wants to back and make an attempt to return.
Oh my god!
This is the era of the LPL. Crazy plays, crazy fans. And you'd be crazy to try to predict what happens next.
我觉得队伍进入季后赛最重要的是沟通和心态，然后想更进一步的话，就更多的战术或者沟通吧。因为有人员变动嘛，就也还好，就正常打。然后目标就是最好比上次好一点吧。
Get to hear a little bit from Bei Shang, the facilitator, at least at this point for Team WE, looking real fine here in this series itself. We are back here with the LPL Summer 2021 Summer Split Playoffs, and we're into the second day. Team WE have a 2-0 lead over OMG. The reverse sweep needs to start now, but the big thing is Shanks is performing, and he picks up his second MVP of the day.
I mean, at the first game, you could argue for others, but he still very much performed very well under LeBlanc. In the second game, then, he just did amazing. Like this second game, he absolutely demolished Cream on the Syndra here, on Cream's Syndra, while he honors LeBlanc himself, stacking the Magi pages, getting the kills for himself, and it just felt like every time there was a fight breaking out in a jungle, Shanks was there first to facilitate it.
It was indeed a lot of the Shank show here, and you see in both games like a huge damage percentage, but as well as a huge KP. And there were moments of brightness for OMG in this series. I thought their teamfight composition was interesting. It does lean into what they like to go for, but it's these incremental advantages that Team WE consistently find, and the fact that OMG are kind of buying into that skirmishing style where this team is a later game team that we like to set up for.
It definitely is, but the problem is, like, how late are you gonna scale? Are you scaling to the third game in this best of 5 series? Because it's kind of now or never for OMG. And I mean, we had a close to reverse sweep yesterday with LNG being up 2-0 against Suning, then Suning coming back 2-1, and that also looked dire for Suning. That looked like a broken team, like OMG does right now, because it felt like in game 1 they had a good understanding of what they needed to do, but they threw away the priority of one lane they had because they started a skirmish when they were taking Rift Herald. Then in second game, it just felt like they didn't want to do anything of that. They wanted to say, all right, let's not wait around. Let's come in with clear-cut early aggression. And they just couldn't beat W in that front.
They could not. And for me, it's the fact that coming into the series, we set up who is going to show us the adaptation, who is going to show us the multi-dimensional play of these teams and how they've grown to, thrive in the playoffs. And OMG do not seem to have found that extra dimension. Team WE, meanwhile, have. And it seems like that's such a big task for OMG to tackle. We'll see, though, OMG on the blue side yet again. This time around, they first picked that Viego. No Bei Shang getting on that one.
And not only that, LeBlanc also off the table from Shanks now. So no second pick LeBlanc, no longer the same priority, but he's there with the next pick in line. He's insta-locking the Syndra.
They seem pretty confident, those two lock-ins, at least taking them away from OMG from game 1 and 2, as we do get that Xin Zhao Syndra lock-in. My goodness, we are just flying through the picks here. OMG double lock-in of the Rumble and the Aurelia. That's the kind of picks I want to see.
What is happening right now? Because wait, is that a solo lane Rumble? Is that a top lane Rumble? Because Viego has seen a lot of nerfs to his to laning phase in general, and also the same Rumble has seen a lot of nerfs to the jungle as well. But this just looks like, to me, OMG is saying, you know what, we're 2-0, our backs are against the wall, we need comfort, we need something that we are feeling confident in. So as soon as they see that Syndra, Cream is like, all right, I'm gonna take the skill matchup on the Aurelia, and then they'll play it from there.
That Aurelia is going to have to be a key point, but that Jax on the other side is pretty stout himself. And now when we're getting into the second phase of things, a lot of focus on the bot side of the map. You got to think, because both teams still looking for those bottom lane duos, as Kalista is the first banned by OMG. Rel actually banned away by Team WE. Don't want to deal with Cold's Rel.
They don't, and I think arguably so, he had a really good performance on it as well, despite them losing out, despite them being down a lot of gold. Now, a thing we could mention as well is the fact that theoretically, this Syndra could be going down towards the bottom side of the map, and you could come in with a cheeky counter pick for Shanks in the mid lane if you wanted to. It's something we saw Road do with Hansam and the Syndra early in the ADC as well before playoffs, but I'm not counting on it. I just wanna put the idea out there to say that it could happen, but knowing LPL and knowing that our AD carries do like to differ, do like to stay on ADs, and we just barely saw 6 on a few champions, well, on a few players rather. I think they're going to stay with the AD carries, and I think OMG thinks the same by banning out the Kalista and taking away the Braum.
Yeah, the Braum, a little bit of focus here in this series so far. I did really like what Team WE were able to accomplish on that Ashe Braum duo bot lane. This is another pick that has come into the meta here recently that's been banned away a decent amount of times, or at least focused in this series, and the Trundle comes in for Team WE.
So they immediately just go for that support that has always been banned out against missing in the second ban phase here. And that means as well, if you want to go for that Leona, which we know have such a high priority, or one of the other tankier supports, well, you're going to be having to dealing with this Trundle and his Subjugate. And not only that, this Trundle just genuinely in the early game has a lot of dueling power. He steals away your AD carry's attack damage, and because of that, you don't trade as efficiently as you would normally against other champions.
This is what I want from OMG, though. You gotta still stick with some of that comfort, and Abel on the Ezreal is pretty much the definition of comfort here as well. I want to see at least some of the play come out, because I think Ezreal has been huge in the meta itself, and I think that extra poke, that extra damage from long range as the setup comes along with the rest of the composition for OMG is a perfect fit for the style they're bringing. The Leona as well for Cold has shown to be pretty good in the setups, and that shot calling, the flanking that we want to see from Cold. On the other side, it's the Ashe that comes through yet again. Team WE feeling confident with the setup.
Yeah, and there you go. This could potentially have been one of those Vayne games as well, just saying, with the Ezreal coming through and with the Vayne being up and available, but it seemed like they really liked the pick potential they got off the Ashe. You get some good poke as well, and against the Ezreal, you do have the advantage to try and push in the wave as well. So Trundle works well into Leona, Ashe fine into Ezreal, and then the mid lane for me, that is going to be one of my highlight places to look, because Shanks has done amazing so far in this series. Now he's on a new champion in the Syndra, and Cream on the Aurelia, rookie of the split against Shanks here. This is going to be a pivotal match. It's potentially OMG's last in this playoff.
It absolutely is, and again, all the pressure coming down to this squad. OMG having that late season resurgence, having strength coming out, as we were hearing earlier on, showing some light on the dark star, the dark world that is OMG, but they need to find some light here. They need to find something that works for them in a fashion that, you know, builds that confidence, builds that momentum. They've got to start a reverse sweep right here, right now, Goldberg.
And that's the thing. You thought there were pressure on them coming into the playoffs, the first playoffs for OMG in 4 years, with Cream having his first playoffs match? No. Now your back's against the wall. Now you are one more game to decide of WE, you're out. That was your playoffs one. I hope you enjoyed getting 3-0. Playoffs now for OMG on the line. They have to put everything into this one, and you can see it from the picks that they have decided to go for as well. That is comfort, and I'm curious to see how it's going to work out, because it's Nerf Viego in lane, it's Nerf Rumble in the jungle, and it's Cream on the Aurelia as well. So, a lot of pressure.
Yeah, such differing styles as well coming in that we've seen already today. And OMG, I like this, right? I like this adaptation. I like the change up here for them, because they've just got to find something that sticks. And I'm hoping that Cream is able to show that rookie the split performance here on this Aurelia, at least to get OMG started. But we are on to the Rift. This is game number 3. Backs up against the wall. OMG gotta start it now. Team WE want to slam it home and continue on into the playoffs.
And once again from the side of WE, it seems like they want to get some early intel through. Last time around in Game 2, they also went in and got a ward on towards the red buff to have this early intel on Aki. And I think that's going to be pivotal as well, because if you're able to track Aki in the early game, you're able to find out what lane he wants to play through. And right now, you know he wants to go up towards the top side, but a lane invade is coming through from the side of WE. They have a lot of good early skirmishing champions.
They do. On the other side, you have a decent amount of lockdown. Abel is actually going to get caught here. He gets the Ignite burned on him. One more auto attack. The flash. Beisheng, no! It's all tragedy yet again. And Team WE are smacking first.
And once again, missing started pillar here. And he just completely split up the fight because of this. They couldn't find one priority target to go on, and you had 4 people from the side of WE, and Shanks just flashing the white flag now for OMG, while Beisheng once again gets to take over the early game in the jungle.
That's a mental advantage right there. You just throw up that white flag. Everybody knows what it means. It's like, you give up now, what's gonna happen? Aki needs to go on this rumble and find this clearing because Beishang, as you said, has taken that early onus, and we've seen what that leads to for Team WE. Maybe OMG looking for the play bot lane. Abel not able to follow up Cold just yet, but the stun is going to be there. Cold getting a little bit low, but so is Elk. The TPs are going to be committed. We're getting shenanigans early. Elk goes down to Abel, but Abel's getting oh so fat on this Ezreal. Can he survive? That is Cold dying, and Abel still free-shotting as Missing and Shanks are going to have to back away.
Yeah, but you gotta love that OMG is equalizing on the fact that Elk doesn't have a flash. Remember, Beishang got the first blood, but Elk tried flashing over to get the kill as well, and because of this, they utilize that immediately. TPs come through from Cream and Shanks. Shank is able to pick up a kill on the back end, but in the end, once again, good aggression from OMG.
And we'll see the replay of that. Just a great play call here, and the communication is so important here, the timing on the TPs. This is also not something we've necessarily seen so far. We've seen jungle presence down the bot lane. We haven't necessarily seen those big TP plays early on, but that is changing here in game number 3.
Yeah, it's usually something we see quite often, actually, but Elk as well in that skirmish essentially cleansed nothing. I don't know if he thought he had heal or what happened there, but after the Senate Blade tried walking out with the cleanse and just wasn't able to get out of that one. But a gold lead is still in favor of WE, and the blue side jungle has not been cleared yet from the side of Beishang, so there's still a lot of gold on the map that they are able to collect.
You'll see that Aki is trying to get that invade going off for himself. Scuttle Crab's traded down. Breathe getting a little bit low here, has to flash. That could be revisited quickly here by Aki on the top side of the map.
Yeah, that is one of the dangerous things as well, because right now Brief have to realize that there's only one spot that Aki he can be in, and that's towards the top side of the map, because you cleared out his bottom side, he just cleared out his own top side, and he's trying to clear away Beishang's top side as well. So Brief has to be a bit careful. He is having a slow push towards OMG, and this is forcing him into a position where he will have to overstep or might need some help from Beishang to unfreeze this potential freeze to come through from Neil.
See the freezes coming down. Love to look at these lane states at the moment, but I also want to turn our eyes to the dragon control early on, potentially from Team WE. That early game focus, that dragon control can be important here. It is a cloud dragon to start us off though, so a little bit less priority potentially on the early dragons, but I also feel like that has been something key that I want to dive into about this series so far, has been the objective control and the pace that it brings you around the map, which Team WE have executed with every time.
They definitely has, and I think with Drake just having respawned as well, you can clearly see the vision around that bot side river as well. From the mid lane, pink ward up towards the bottom side as well, pink ward again. So all of the control is just in favor of WE right now. They even scout up the Rundle on the Grump as well from the Vision clan, and after that, it's super easy for them to plan their next steps just because of the fact they realize where OMG they are going to be planning theirs.
And we do see missing out on the roam timer, a little bit different. We've seen Cold really getting on those active roam timers early on. He is going to be on his now, but it's about what can you get active on that. Can Cold get an influence here early on the Leona, as Missing is still hovering over Cream mid lane?
Yeah, and just with all this early intel, they're just going to be starting up the Drake as well. Mid lane priority, bot lane priority, even when missing out and roaming. But the question is, what is the cross map going to be for OMG then instead? Because you can see right now on the minimap, Cold also moving up towards this top side. Aki hovering around as well. So WE will pick up the Drake, but can OMG pick anything up on the back end of this?
So will you see Breathe in a little bit of trouble up here? A lot of bodies from OMG. As Cold has made his way up here. I just love the level distinctions here. You've got new level 6, everybody else a little bit lower than that. But here comes the Hex Flash over the wall. Big wave there for Breathe to take as well. Breathe just going to go down. Is he going to get Counter Strike back? He does not find the kill back onto Aki, and he will be taken out. Bot lane, though, the response play from Team WE. Beishang has shown up, but the TP play is too quick. And that's immediately Elk having to cleanse. Elk's just gonna go down. No, the flash comes out, and now New has overextended. Beishang gets his second kill of the game, and we'll see a third go over. A double kill for the jungler of Team WE. as I do believe I have lost my co-caster for a moment. Was hoping to pick up there, but very strong stuff coming out from Team WE in a response play across the map. We'll look at that again. We just had the play come out in top lane where they were able to find Breathe, and then this play, this TP, this movement from New down here was huge. It was just a little bit of an overextension, and it's really up to Team WE to capitalize on that one. And I think that that's such an interesting point as we go further on. 7.5 minutes in, this has been an extremely bloody game here already, and a very big change from what we saw in game number 1, where it was very long. We were getting double clears from these junglers, no real action to speak of, but this one, this is where it turns on its head.
Yeah, and once again, Beishang again just utilizing a lot of that pressure he's gotten from the early game, and he steps all the way back to that late invade that they go for. They plan out a lot of their early game through Beishang, and he's such a pivotal force and has been throughout the entire series for OMG in the early game.
Can I just say that it's been, and I know I've already talked about it once before because we got to see full performance from Team WE, but this whole series has been about the full performance of Team WE. It's every single member finding their own advantages in different games, in different ways, and the fluidity that is shown between these key players of the squad. And now Beishang is going to continue that lead that he developed himself. He's going to invade, get Shanks the blue buff here, and start up the Rift Herald right when OMG are ready to go. You've got the Enchanted Crystal Arrow available for Elk. How does that setup come down? As New does show his face down here. We'll see the fight unfold. Crescent Guard is popped already by Beishang. Big equalizer. There's the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. It does work as Breathe finds the kill on a cream. And now you can't do anything but New going down as well. Team WE are just unstoppable in every decision they want to make.
And it's such a good setup for WE because they have the bot lane priority. They're moving up with their AD carry. They're creating a man advantage for themselves. But OMG, you should know this. Your AD carry is stuck on the turret. You know the enemy AD carry is walking up. So why are you trying to walk in here? It just baffles me why they decide to take a fight where they just won't have the proper setup for it. As soon as the arrow hit, as soon as Cream is out of the fight, then you're 4 versus 3 now. And it's to the point where Elk just say, all right, well, I'm not just going to join. I'm just going to farm mid instead. And they're still going.
They're still going. This is, again, buying into the fighting, buying into that playstyle. Elk is the focus here, and they will find him. So Cream gets his first kill of the game, and that's a big step forward for the carry of OMG.
Yeah, finally it works for them with the aggression. I think they caught WE off the tempo, off the reset rather, after they thought that everything was away from the play, after everyone was no longer around this Rift Herald. But even though you get this kill, it's still a lead over to WE, and the ball is still very much in WE's hands because of the fact they have the Rift Herald. And there you go, we get the replay in the picture-in-picture. It is just Elk trying to recall, and Cole comes in and stop him for the pickup there.
And we'll see, yeah, that picture-in-picture is nice pickup. But it's also, I gotta focus back into what we're talking about a little bit as these teams come together. It's like wanting to see OMG get to that late game, the scaling factor, right? We've talked a lot about those leads and how OMG are able to take those team fights later on, but it seems that they just want to continue to skirmish. They want to continue to opt in to this early fighting, to this early snowball potential, and WE are just able to respond every single time. As Shank's getting a little bit low in the mid lane, it's still Rift Herald available for Beishang, and Team WE want to mount this pressure up even more.
And once again, it's from mid lane priority. They're doing such a good job at facilitating Shanks, and now Cold, no flash, might get caught off guard.
That is a completely caught out Cold as Beishang gets the fadeaway kill here.
And they might not be done here, because it seems like Abel, he's just stuck on the tower with Rift Herald coming through now as well. Doesn't seem like there's much Abel's going to be able to do with this one. Rift Herald will just get down with the charge here, and then Abel, nothing you can do here. You're not long for this world, but at the top side, at the same time, Breathe, 1v2 just finds the outplay on towards Aki on the jungle, and then WE once again just getting everything on the map. They're getting the tier 2 turret, they got the plates, and up towards the top side, they got the kill for themselves.
And I'm back here now. I had a little bit of internet issue, but I seem to have missed a decent amount more pressure from Team WE, as it seems like they can do no wrong, Goldberg.
That's the thing. Arrow as well. We'll be following this one and see what happens. I think that's a miss.
Oh, wait, is he going to walk into? Okay, no. He started walking up that way. Those are kinds of moments where like, how does this work out? You pause it right there, see which way does it go?
To go back to your question, it's just the fact that it seems like once again OMG as well scattered a bit across the members to the fact McCall got caught out in the jungle. Abel, because of that, was just stuck on the turret. Rift Herald, because of the play earlier, was still in favor of WE, so they could just set up that push, and Abel, nothing he could do on the turret. Now, what happened up towards the top side of the map, I don't know. Aki was level 7, Bree found him in the bush just waiting alone, knew was too far away to help him, and because of that, he just goes down, and that is just across the entire map that WE is winning out once again.
It's a lot to be said about Team WE and a lot to be hopeful for, at least wanting, rather, for OMG, where this is not the kind of performance you would want to have for OMG, being the first time you made it to playoffs in so long, and going up against Team WE, where we felt the matchups were very even, very similar in the way that both these teams don't have a lot of dimensions to them. They have a very similar playstyle, or at least very strategic playstyle that they like to go through, although being a little bit different in that aspect. But OMG wanting to get something, wanting to help Cream as this rookie of the split to really show off here, it just hasn't happened.
And that's the thing, it just feels like that every attack that OMG has tried to commit on the map, every setup, W has just been a step ahead or been there with an extra man. And it's this shutdown that just keeps enabling the play, and it just keeps on happening again.
7,000 gold lead. This might be a turnaround, though, as the CC comes on to missing. Not going to find too much on it. Abel and Cole just getting pressured. Aki out of his jungle as well. Actually might go down. No, okay, they're not going to commit. Cream is on his way here. Cream actually just going for the engage, and Cream gets picked out of the fight here. No, he's not going to go down just yet. Beautiful Crescent Guard is buying a lot of space for Beishang, but Shakes goes down to Cream with the re-engage. Team WE have found their reinforcements, though, and there is just nothing that OMG New can do, and that is 4 members for 1, and you'll take that all day.
And once again, it spells disaster for OMG. WE, they're doing such a good job at fighting an objective to fight over and over again. This time around, it was just a blue buff. They just knew they can keep getting these advantages through the jungle, but OMG, they're so stubborn. They don't want to lose their resources, and because of this, they keep walking forward despite not having anyone with the first move. Shanks is just always there to facilitate Beishang, and as soon as the fight breaks out, as soon as this had happened, yes, Cream does pick up a nice kill afterwards, but it's 1 kill out of the 4 that WE is picking up for themselves once again. Every time there's a fight, WE is just a better team that's equalizing on it.
You just can't take fights into those kinds of gold leads. You're this team that loves to get to team fighting, loves to get that scaling aspect, but these early games just have gone down the drain, and you see the difference in this turret plate acquisition there. So much gold influxed into Team WE's pockets.
There's just not much they can do. Perhaps they can try and attack Shanks on the side lane, but even then Shanks might respect it, or they might not go for it. I feel like this shutdown should go over now.
I would hope so. We'll see the execution on it, though. Equalizer is used, Shanks gets heartbroken, and the kill goes to Aki.
Oh, unfortunately not even shot down. I spoke too much there myself. But yeah, they do find a kill instead. And this is something I wish they would have equalized on from the first Herald. When it's the fact that, you know, oh, we cannot contest this objective. Therefore, we should try and get an advantage elsewhere on the map. And this time around, they commit to that play. But it's way too late into the third game of the series. Into the 15 minutes of this game, where you're almost close to 10k behind. You're 8k behind right now. That's absolutely insane.
And the observers just have to be all over at once. You're getting towers fall, you're getting objectives taken, another Rift Herald for Team WE, and they are not putting off the gas here. They want to continue this. They want to utilize this Rift Herald quickly to take down one of these tier 2 towers. It looks like because of the pressure of OMG, though, it will just be a reset from Team WE.
It will, and now they have Herald in hand. They have 40 seconds onto the third Drake spawns. Right now, it doesn't seem like OMG can fight anything, and if they try, I mean, they're just getting shot down every time. I think for WE, they're looking to close out and move on further in their playoffs match, because right now it's just looking like a clean 3-0 stomp with how well they have been piloting this series. The consistency we always talk about from OMG, from WE, with at least getting to playoffs. Well, this time around, they're looking to make it way further than what they usually do.
They absolutely are, and that comes off the back of changing the style, not exactly fitting into that one-dimensional style play we set out for Team WE. It's finding those advancements, finding the things that can win you success in the LPL playoffs. You have to have that versatility.
Exactly, and now second Rift Herald just has been spawned down, doesn't even take damage from the first charge, so he will get down to the second one, whereas all the OMG members, they are trying to crash map on the top side, but there's no one to kill. You only get the turret for yourself, but you lose the first turret, and you lose a very early inhibitor.
New on the side here, just trying to stop the inhib from going down, or at least the inhib tower on bot side from going down. They will be able to pull off from Team WE. And they did get the inhib, so it's a nice little pressure point for Team WE, but you've got to expect the next big focus is the Dragon, as you see Beishang go into the pit to start that one up.
Under normal circumstances, I say this inhibitor was taken way too early because of the fact that, yes, you're getting super minions now, but you're not getting anything out of the pressure. You're not going to be able to pick up Soul. You're not going to be able to pick up Baron, since Baron is not on the map. So this is just going to be extra gold over to the side of OMG. Now, the problem for me right now is that OMG is just so much behind that if one guy gets taken off or two guys dies in a fight again, there's not much stopping WE from either just pushing down the mid lane or pushing in the rest of your side lanes to actually utilize this pressure, because they are so far ahead.
And one point that I really want to talk about here is Cream on the Aurelia. I do feel like this is a pick that's set up for success with this draft, but it's been that early decision making that hasn't gone their way, and Cream feeling a little bit aggressive, just maybe a little bit desperate to find something for his team, right? When your backs are up against the wall 2-0 here, you don't want to go out in that 3-0 sweep. And so being able to judge that difference there and not utilize that aggression too much, but still have it in the tank when it's necessary, is going to be key moving forward for OMG in this game.
Definitely yes, but moving forward in this game, it felt like they've been moving backwards throughout the entire time.
They're stuck in a tar pit, it's fine.
Seems like they're stuck in quicksand, just slowly but surely getting down, and they need someone to help them up. They need something, a stick, something to drag them out of that hole that they're slowly but surely have found themselves in. I'm just struggling to see anything around them that can help them. I think it's down to WE making a crucial mistake. They made mistakes in game one, but outside of that, we really haven't seen too many mistakes from WE. We haven't seen them be scattered. We haven't really seen them be alone and getting caught off guard.
And the calmness and the collectiveness of Team WE, the split laning pressure that they've gotten in 3 games in a row, that forces OMG to just be all over the place, be pulled across the map. You're seeing it right now. Breathe in the side lane yet again against New. You've got major focus from Team WE in top, and the tower is getting lower and lower. Do they want to commit for a fight here? This might be one of those moments that OMG can capitalize on the mistake, but OMG need to figure out bot lane, because you've still got to deal with Breathe on this Jax, who's got 5 kills, and he's looking mighty, mighty strong.
And not only that, look at the mid lane. You have super minions on your Nexus towers right now. This is what I talked about. Normally an early inhibitor is bad for you because the enemy gets extra gold, but this time around WE is just so far ahead that they can still utilize that pressure coming in.
And you just don't have the wave clear from the side of OMG. Cold goes for the engage just to get them off the tower. The emote's coming out. Team WE are feeling themselves right now, Goldberg.
They definitely are, and I think they know what's coming as well, because this may look pretty stale right now because of the fact they keep sieging the same turret. It's not going to go on like this for very long, because now Baron has spawned on the map. In 2 minutes as well, the Soul will be there as well. So even if this game is not over in 2 minutes, it's only looking to get worse for OMG now that WE has started up the Baron.
Will be sorry. They also have their bodyguards set in place here. Shankson missing on the duty again. We'll see the Dragon, or the Baron, getting a little bit lower, about 8,000 health. They found missing though. He needs to be careful. Looks like Team WE might want to opt into the fight instead. The Baron is not low enough to really burn down. Although OMG are still losing their base, and Team WE are just going for the fight. The Crescent Guard is huge from Beishang, And that's just another team fight wipe. Team WE have not lost a single member in that fight, and the TPs are signaling the end. This is the first time that OMG have made it to the playoffs since 2017, and they will be shut out in their first bout here in round number 1 by a surging Team WE. They found the recipe to success, and it comes through the entire team putting those performances on their back. You've got the Breed Show, you've got the Shanks Show, you've got Beishang coming up clutch at 8-0-9 on the Xin Zhao. It is a dominant performance from Team WE as they move on in the LPL Summer 2021 playoffs.
And look at the fashion they do it in as well. Not even a sweat broken. They TP'd in only to back away from the Nexus turrets and try to kill the rest of the members of OMG on the top side of the map. That's how much extra time they felt like they had to just chill, to get some few kills, get that extra KDA. WE in a very convincing fashion just clearly 3-0s them in one of the most dominant playoffs games we've had just yet.
Yeah, I was hoping for the 5-game dream. We do not get that today, but we get Team WE with the dream, with the strength, with these adaptations that we see from them. And that is a huge piece to move forward, right? They've got to go up against BLG next. They've got to take this momentum and bring that into the next series. And when we're looking at one last look at OMG, this strength of the team that we've seen in the later parts of the game, Cream, or the later parts of the regular season, Cream with the rookie of the split, there's so much brightness on this squad that I just can't hope but just get excited for next split.
And that's the thing as well, right? We're looking at a very demoralizing defeat now for OMG, but we're also hoping to see this potential rise at the same time with what you just said. Rookie of the split. First time in years OMG has made playoffs. Yes, of course, they probably hope to go further themselves, but the fact is right now their level is just not where it needs to be, but it can be so. In a couple of years, maybe you have the building blocks to build that OMG legacy that you want in the future as well. But for WE, with their own legacy right now, they're looking great from all the members. We talked Breathe at the start of the day. Now you have to talk about Beishang. Now you have to acknowledge Shanks because he had an amazing series.
Yeah, it was just an OMG that got shut out by Team WE in all respects, right? It was objective control. It was map pressure. It was Team WE forcing OMG into the playstyle that they want to play, right? Forcing them into the fights, baiting them into the fights, and every now and then, you know, just taking complete team fights in their own right.
Yeah, it's just what a fashion as well, because it just seems so dominant from laning phase to the early jungle skirmishes to the mid to late game, where it never felt like in our series today that OMG had anything going for them. It genuinely never felt like that. It felt like WE, just from start to finish, knew exactly what they wanted to do. From the early game pathing in game 1, where it was just full clear, now to game 2, where they came in with early vision to try and track Aki down, to just completely put him out of the jungle after he failed a dive on the top side. And then here in game 3, coming in with the late invade planned, with the pillar from missing as the icing on the cake to pick up first blood and take away the 2 camps of Aki to just once again put him so far behind. OMG just had nothing to do in this entire series because WE was so good.
And we've been putting the spotlight on Breathe, Beishang, Shanks, even missing to some extent. I gotta shout out Elk, dude. Get you an ADC that can do both, right? Like, he pops out the Vayne in game number 1 and just dominates bot lane. Then he goes for the Ashe, the utility, the setup. Guys, I got you. And still able to find a ton of damage in those team fights as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only that, it's also the fact that he does such an amazing job setting up his teammates just from the jungle skirmishes that we know that they favor so heavily on WE. And then every time once broke out, every arrow hit. I think I only counted 1 arrow hit, and that's when he shot it from base and shot it up towards the top side, or was down towards the bottom and sent it up across the map. But if he was half a lane away from you, those arrows, every time there was a skirmish, they hit, and they did an amazing job for setting up WE.
And moving forward for Team WE, I feel like that is a very nice playstyle to be able to accomplish, right? We talked a lot about those early skirmishes, the topside focus early on, but being able to have that utility coming out of the bot lane is huge to set up that top side. And now we got to give our MVP out for this third and final game of the series. It's none other than Beishang.
I mean, it had to be expected at some point in this series as well because Shanks did an amazing job in the mid lane, of course. But Beishang out-jungled Aki every game. Like, obviously you can argue, oh, he was facilitated by the lanes, and he was. But not every jungler will know what to do with the pressure that they're given by their team. And Beishang, it felt like he used that to the full extent every time.
He did, and you know, those MVPs start to stack up, and especially when you get those playoff MVPs, but it was the movement around, the fact that this dude was always on your screen. He was always active, proactive as well in the map, and that just made it where it's so hard to play against.
Especially because, you know, they got the Viego in the beginning, then he just flipped it around after grabbing the Xin Zhao that Aki had been piloting the entire game, and he said, oh, this is what you're supposed to do with early pressure. Here's how far ahead you can take your team in the early game. And specifically with missing on the Trundle, with them moving around as a duo, it's just so hard to find. You can't skirmish that. A Trundle and a Xin Zhao with the pillar, with the slows, with the knockups, are you kidding me? They did an amazing job.
That last Crescent Guard, I think that's probably coming up next here. Okay, maybe not. It was huge. Like, the fact that you're able to split apart the fight like that is insane.
Yes.
Also, like you mentioned, right, the Viego looked dirty. The Viego looked so strong in game number 1 and 2. And it was Aki opting into that Xin Zhao, Aki opting into the fight with the Crescent Guards and things along those lines. And to come out and have such a dominant performance, going unkilled on the Xin Zhao, where we were kind of questioning what that priority on the Xin Zhao is going to look like. Really, really interesting, as we're going to be actually sending it over to an interview here. I do believe we have Breathe from Team WE.
Hello everyone, welcome to interview, and now I'm standing by with Breathe from WE. So congratulations on today's win, and I believe all of you just would like to take this revenge against OMG. So tell us more about the team's preparation before today's game, because we feels like the best of fives really needs very flexible like ban pick strategies and also the in-game tactics. So tell us more about the preparation from you guys. 那首先恭喜你们非常漂亮3比0拿下了比赛的胜利，相信你们也绝对是非常想面对 OMG， 然后完成这样的一个复仇的。那能不能和我们首先谈一下可能队伍在这个比赛之前所做的一些准备呢？因为我们感觉好像 BO5的时候，无论是从 BP 的方面，还是一些游戏内的环节，可能都需要进行更多的一些准备和战略上的一些筹备。
就我们知道 OMG 冲阵玩的特别好。 然后中路就是他们中单刺客玩的也很好，就他们整体就是这么围绕着中路弄的一个冲我们的阵容，然后我们就好好准备，就针对他们英雄上面做一些针对吧，然后就打的会更小心一点，因为之前输了记忆犹新吧。
So I think for the opponent's team, OMG, the whole team, they really played very aggressively, and also they always have chosen some engaging drafts. So based on this, we have made some restrictions on the opponent's ban pick strategies, and also because the opponent's main laner Krem, because he is really famous for all the assassin, those very aggressive champions. So for this part, maybe during the ban pick phase, we try to make some restriction on them, and also because we still remember the last team fights, the last fight against OMG, the last best of 3. So because of this, we really would like to play more meticulously in today's best of 5. So that's a reason for us to be able to just win the game. And also, we feels like in today's game, you guys really prepare some like the level 1 invasion, and the whole tempo was really tight. So tell us more about the strategies, the overall strategy that you guys prepare for this game. 那其实我们感觉今天你们好像整体打的是非常非常紧凑的，前期的节奏是拉得很满，然后特别是在比如说1级团还有进行一些设计，所以说可能你们整个的前期的一些节奏或者说前期的一些战术是怎么样的呢？
就一开始围绕着下路打出了优势吧，然后拿到优势滚雪球很小心，就滚得挺好的，然后就感觉他们都打得挺好的。
So we just would like to make some snowboard from the bot lane, because with some early game bot lane skirmishes, we were able to get more leads. So based on that, we can just snowboard smoothly and generally have a very tight early game tempo until the very end. And as you have mentioned, that you guys really played a lot around the bot lane. So maybe, but we feels like because in the regular split, sometimes OMG will, WE will just play around you. But what's the reason for like in this best of 5? I think the bot lane has become the very focus of the whole team. 那其实我们感觉，其实常规赛的时候，很多时候可能 WE 会围绕着上路来进行一些战略上的布置，但今天其实3局都是主要是围绕着下路，围绕着 ALK 选手，所以说可能这个原因是为什么呢？
其实我们本来就是一个能打上也能打下的队伍，就是因为我们春季赛也是围绕下路打的，然后就是看阵容吧，就看阵容来选择打哪边。然后我们刚好下路又最近玩的比较好，然后去下路也拿到了东西，我上路也稳得住。
So basically, within our team WE, we can really play around the upper half of the map, and also we can have a very good performance around the lower half of the map. And for we just adjust our strategies based on the draft we have chosen. And for today's game, I think currently Elk and our Badu, they really have a very good performance and they're on very good form. So that's a reason for us to just play around them. And also back to the spring split, we have already have some games like around the bot lane. So in today's best of 5, we have decided that maybe we can use the bot lane to open the whole situation for the whole team. And my next question is, as you have mentioned, it feels like the opponents team, they really play very aggressively in this best of 5, and they, especially in the mid game, they actually seek so many opportunities to make the hard engagement. But we felt like most of the team fights will ended up, you guys were able to just win the team fight and get more leads for the whole team. So what's the team's communication in the mid game, and maybe who's the match caller from Team WE? 那其实就像你刚才所说的，其实 OMG 它这个队伍在今天的比赛中也是打得非常的激进，非常的凶猛。然后特别是他们在中期一直在找机会，想试图去开团呀，然后呢可能为自己掌握一些局面。但是呢每一波团战我们感觉好像最后都以你们的胜利而告终，你们能拿到更多的东西。所以说可能中期的一些队伍内的沟通是怎么做的呢？一般谁会是队内那个主要指挥的人呢？
今天就他们冲我们能打的赢的比较多，应该是因为我们前面有奠定了优势吧，因为有优势的基础，所以接团的时候都比较从容一点。然后就是基本上指挥是野辅吧，然后平时我们其他人也会说出自己的想法，然后来就是看一下能不能解决吧。就感觉因为记住上次教训，所以这次打的会好很多吧。
I think the reason for us to be able to win more team fights in the mid game is because we were able to get more leads from the early game. So it's not like we performed that good, but because we were able to just use a snowboard to have a better performance in the team fights. And also for the shot calling inside our team, I think normally our jungler player Beishang and also the support player missing, the two of them will be the main shot caller, and definitely the other teammates, we will like share our informations we got to them as well. So we make some decisions together. And also because we really learned a lot of lessons from the previous best of 3 against OMG, so we just learned from them. And so in this best of 5, we just played more meticulously and we're able to just win the matchup. And also my last question is, on this Sunday, you're going to face your next opponent, BLG. So which part or what aspects do you think can be the focus for the next best of 5? 那接下来你们在周日也要面对下一个对手 BLG 了嘛？那或许我们 Breeze 选手会觉得，可能下一场比赛的一个重点会落在哪里呢？
我觉得打 BLG 重点还是我们自己的状态吧，就他们也是个非常稳、非常强的队伍，就我觉得就我们保持好自己的状态，然后好好跟他们打吧。
I think for the next matchup, the focus will be our form or our conditions, because we feel like BLG is a very stable and also a very strong team. So if we can maintain a very good form, definitely we may get a very decent opportunity to win them. And definitely best of luck for the next best of 5. And congratulations again. 那再次恭喜你们，希望你们下场也加油。And back to you guys. Bye bye.
Thank you so much, Wendy, and thank you, Breathe, for a little bit of insight into that 3-game series, that best of 5 that we just got to witness. I got to ask Goldberg, I got to hear a little bit about what he's expecting in BLG, what they're looking forward to. What are you looking forward to in that matchup, especially now that Team WE has showed this multifaceted approach?
I think I'm looking forward to Shanks versus Seeker. I think Shanks once again displayed a high level here today, and I think Seeker throughout the entire split has really been one of the mid laners that I have kept my eyes on in BLG's success, from starting with the Akali when that was meta to now moving on to other champions as well. So I think specifically the mid lane matchup is going to be something to look forward to.
Well, you hear it from the big brain analyst himself, who also got the prediction right today. I'm just going to say I'm a little salty about it. But anyways,
2 for 2.
We're going to talk a little bit about the bracket here. We got to zoom in on what we've seen so far and what we have to look forward to in these LPL Summer Split playoffs. You see what we've gotten so far. We had that first series go all 5 games, 3-2 victory for LNG. Then tonight, the 3-0 slam of WE versus OMG. Now we got to look forward to our next matches. As it says, August 14th, same time, same place. Top Esports taking on LNG. And then the following day, it's going to be BLG versus Team WE.
There's really some great games to look forward to in general. I think both series here is going to be something where you can look forward to a bit of surprises. I think to me specifically, LNG Top Esports is one of the more one-sided ones, at least, where you have to heavily favor Top Esports in that one. But I think BLG versus WE, that's going to be a great series to watch, where I think they're very similar, at least in terms of power levels.
Bangers abound here in the LPL summer split. You got to appreciate it, but I have to appreciate you, Goldberg. It's been an absolute pleasure to cast alongside you, man. It's been a journey. It's been a great time here, and we did get to have some slamming games for our final cast here, so it's been a very fun one. But that's going to be it from us. Thank you to the production team for making us look so dang good on the screen, and to the audience for tuning in here. Make sure you tune in next time, as we're going to be taking it further on into the LPL Summer Playoffs. We'll catch you.